more hockey than usual to lead us into the Super Bowl this year due to the condensed season. So there's a blessing in disguise of the condensed season. So you got to look for the positive.
What's that? Oh, by the way, I hit the. It actually ended up going right now. So now, hello, it's the Pearlo Wisdom Show. We're back at it again, having our normal technical difficulties, but we're going. Here we are. Uh, yeah, I scheduled the stream ahead of time. Thank you, Off the Wall Hockey. My thing says no data right now, so I don't know what that means.
It's going.
Good.
You might have to do a
Well,
reset
excellent
thing, but
condition. We're good. This is the way we should just start the show every time. We'll just start the show every time. It's going to be part of the theme of the Pearl of Wisdom show. That when we start the show, whether or not we're having connection or not, we're just going to act like it doesn't. That's how we're going to start the show every time. It's just going to be a tradition now from now on.
everything everyone's hearing is just wah, 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 wah. It's just like Chewbacca from Star Wars is like the sound everyone's hearing as you're trying to talk, and then like 5 minutes in it actually works.
Uh,
Um, but no, what I was saying is the Super Bowl. I mean, it was great to have all those games leading up to having Super Bowl Sunday too. Which, before we get into the hockey, congratulations to Tom Brady for winning his seventh best of all time.
yeah.
So, congratulations to Tommy.
Yeah, I love Tom winning more. I don't know why. I just can't help but love the guy. I think he's great. I think he's been a true professional his whole career. Besides the era with
Family
the ball
man,
crap, and I don't think he knew anything about that. But
family man too. You saw him with his family after the game last night. He was kind of doing a handshake, a special handshake. They were doing their own like signature handshake with his son there, and his daughter came over to hug him.
yeah, yeah. He went he had other options, and apparently he went to Tampa Bay because that's where his family chose to go out of all the options he had.
Yeah,
So, that,
that just proves that point even
and then he
more.
goes
Yeah.
wins the Super Bowl. It's like, yeah, wherever you want to go, I'm gonna win a Super Bowl wherever I go anyway. So just do whatever, you know.
Yeah, whatever state you want to be in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where do you want the next Super Bowl to be? All of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he's an incredible character. It's awesome that he's not retiring. I love it. I hope he just keeps on going and going.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he is. I mean, obviously it's not official, but after when they did the interview, he said, "I'm a quarterback." You know that, so
Yeah,
that pretty much seems like you ain't
the odds
retiring.
are
So
that he's probably not
yeah.
retiring. Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, we had awesome weekend. This is the weekend report, boys and girls. We're here, or not weekend report, weekend review. Not really reporting. I don't do the reporting thing. That's this is a weekend review, and we're gonna talk about all the games from over the weekend, or most, anyways. And then we'll probably go on tangents that lead us to then wherever it's going to lead to, because that's what we do, right? So if you have anything you want to talk about any of the games or whatever the case may be, or you like something over the weekend or any news that you've heard, tell us in the comment section. We'll probably stop what we're doing and start talking about that. So, good.
Not
Yeah,
probably.
almost
Not
definitely. That's what
probably.
we'll.
Yeah, pretty much
Pretty much
definitely. Yeah.
definitely. That's what we're gonna
Yeah.
do. Okay, so let's look at the games. I had it set up here. Ah, yes.
I have it pulled up if you can't. Okay, you got it.
Saturday's games we'll start off with. I usually don't go far back as Friday's games. Let's take a look at Fridays and see if there's anything specific that we want to talk about. Actually, you know what? This won't even let me go back. Yeah, it must let me go back to. Let's go back to Friday. Well, I guess we should talk about the Bruins and Flyers really quick on Friday night. You obviously watched that, I imagine.
Yeah, I ended up watching it as I went out to this very nice place with my friends that had Guppies, which has really good sandwiches. We watched it there. The TV was like right next to my table. Because we're not like certain cities where they just don't let you watch television in your bars right now. But that's not important. That we were able to watch it and it was up there. Um, It was a good game. I mean, it was a close game. It was the Flyers close shots the whole game. It was only a one goal differential, sure, but a one shot differential as
Yeah.
well. Where we actually beat them. It was just terrible job at closing out the game yet again. That's all that. Well, that's the simplest way to put it without going into my whole spiel again of why we blew the game. And it's obviously I have a more tampered reaction to this game now because Sunday's game's already happened as compared to if we reacted to this on Saturday, where it was just after this game because we played Washington well and beat them well, which we'll get to later. So my reaction to this game is a lot more tampered than if we went right after the game. Um, Now I think it just shows it's going to be a brutal battle like it always is. We thought the Bees might be a little bit easier, I think, coming into this season, losing some guys. That doesn't seem like the case. So it seems like it's still going to be the grueling battle it was every year in the past against the Boston Bruins for the Philadelphia Flyers, and they're just going to have to take it and run with it and learn from their past mistakes in these past games and figure out a way to beat them, and most likely add another defender in order to be able to consistently beat them as well.
Yeah, oh, I would agree. It would be a good idea to add another defender. But, you know, the good thing about playing Boston this much is Philadelphia has an opportunity to learn what it means to be a championship team. I think it's
Yep.
great. I think it's really good for them. I think they'll get there. I think they have the pieces to get there. And like you said, we'll get into some of those pieces that came back and you know, the roster's starting to fill out again. One thing we do know that Philadelphia is a much different team without Coots in the lineup.
Correct. Yeah, him coming back, which we'll get to, was obviously big. Yeah, they are a much different team without Coots in the lineup and with Coots in the lineup. I mean, we got to see, which we'll get to later, what it allows Scott Long to do, settle back into his
Yeah.
role uh, once Couturier comes out of the lineup. So everything with Couturier in just comes so much better. What's up, Hockey News? Hope you are well, and we appreciate it. Yeah, so everything just goes smoother with Couturier. That's definitely a good way to put it.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's get into. We'll talk about the Islanders and Pittsburgh game. No, that's Saturday. Yeah, let's just go right
That
to
was
let's go right
sad.
to Saturday. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that game. The other
Sure.
games we'll really talk are gonna they're we're gonna talk about them come Saturday, Sunday, anyways, because they all played the following 2 days. So we'll get into Saturday's first game, which was a very weird one, I would say. The Canadians versus the Senators.
Yeah, the Senators battled the Canadians again. They only lost by one. I know Hockey News was probably sweating a little bit watching this game against the. I think he messaged even commented on a video of mine saying how it was tough to watch this one, but you were able to pull it out in the end. Um, 2-1. The Senators actually outshot them by three, but they were still able to pull it out. Jeff Petrie, the potential Norris candidate, throw that in there for Hockey News.
Yeah.
Um, is doing really well. Colin White, who's likely not a Senator for much longer, in my opinion, I don't think could be part of their future. He'll probably be traded for more assets. Was able to do something for them, and then Anderson, who's been doing everything since Montreal has acquired him, has been the old Josh Anderson. And as long as he stays healthy, it seems like that's going to become the case, and he's just going to continue to grow and flourish in Montreal. So, yeah, definitely think they're going to do well. Still, the Canadian. I mean, you got to battle teams. I mean, it's not like with the young talent the Senators have, you thought they were going to suck and lay an egg every game. They're going to have games that they come out and actually compete with the other team as long as Matt Murray or Hogberg actually allows it. That's been really the biggest thing. If Matt Murray wasn't a complete dumpster fire to start the season, the Senators probably could have competed in more games up until now.
Yeah.
Where you see when their goaltending's not a complete dumpster fire with the young talent they have, they're kind of like Detroit, where they're actually able to stay in the game where the Red Wings are now, where it's not like last year's Red Wings without Grice that they're just completely out of the water in most games. That's kind of where the Sens are when their goaltending does well without it. they're pretty much like last year's Red Wings, where they're just out of a game in a minute. So that's the other thing there. I think the Senators are actually a decent looking terrible team, if that makes any sense, because they actually have like the Stutzlov of the world, the Bathersons, the Norrises, the Shabbat, like guys that are fun to watch play hockey, but they're just not there
Well, it's
yet.
hard to enjoy a
Right.
rebuilding team if you have bad goaltending. Like, it's it's
Exactly.
actually
Yeah.
hard for teams to rebuild with bad goaltending. The theory that, well, you don't need good goaltending because you're rebuilding, I totally don't agree with that, because how do you build a defensive system? How do you teach
Without
players
a good goaltender.
without it's just human nature that if your goaltending's bad, you're going to second guess everything you do. It's just the way it is. And not only that, it's hard emotionally to try really hard and know that it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to
Yeah,
suck
a
horribly.
perfect example. A perfect example is Chicago. Look at how they looked when DeLeo was struggling and Subban struggled the first couple games. Look at how they looked in Subban's last couple games, who, by the way, we'll get to look great yesterday again too. Um, and then like that's the big difference. Once your goaltender looks great, Lankinen and Subban now look good. Chicago's competing, playing very well. Their offense is running good. Like that's a perfect example right there to prove your point of what you just made. You need to have a good goaltender no matter if you're rebuilding or not. I completely agree.
Yeah, it's absolutely essential to anything you want to do in hockey is have a good goaltender. Now, we were talking about, we did mention that, we question Ottawa picking Murray up, but we also mentioned that, I at least I did anyways, Ottawa seemed to do really well with a lot of goaltenders in Ottawa. Like their goaltending coaching, from what I saw,
Anderson.
yeah,
Yeah.
Anderson. They helped change Anderson's career around. Hogberg is built up to be probably more than he anybody ever expected him to be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you're probably
Gustafson.
Gustafson coming up, but I mean even other Nielsen might
Yeah.
never play. I don't know if, but he floundered around and all over the place and got to Ottawa and became an NHL level goaltender. So there's there's something to be said for the goaltending coaching there, and I imagine they were part of the process of bringing Murray over. So as much as I kind of criticized it, I also said watch out, because they wouldn't be doing this if they didn't see something that they could help Murray with, and we could give it some time here before
Yeah.
we say that it's a
I mean, it also does take time because Tony Romo correctly predicted both Super Bowl teams when the Bucks were 7-5 and just lost to the Chiefs by 3. He said to Jim Nance, "We could be seeing these teams in Tampa," and it turns out we did see those teams in
yeah.
Tampa. So that was when they were still adjusting to Tom Brady. They were not. Tom Brady was still learning. Blanking on his the Byron Leftwich. There we go, Byron Leftwich, and growing with him, and then they really got it going and got took off and flourished. You can't just come into being in Pittsburgh system with goaltender coaches and move right to a new system and expect to be one with all those coaches in a millisecond. It is gonna take some time. So yeah, I do think he has a chance. You just got to see if he's able to get out of his own head sometimes.
What did you say? I thought the Habs played better on that Thursday than they won on
Loss.
Saturday. Oh, I see. He thought they played better on Thursday when they lost.
Yeah, in their
Yeah,
loss. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the Habs seem to just the same thing happened when Calgary came in. It seems Calgary came in from off the road and beat them 2-0 last game. That's exactly Ottawa came in off the road from a flight from Ottawa. And I don't know if Montreal has a little bit of. I remember, I think we were talking about that. That's a siege you got to kill right away when you are overlooking an opponent. And if I felt like Montreal overlooked them, they didn't have their legs going early. They weren't able to get up for that game. And
Hmm.
um, you know,
You can't do that against the Sens either, because like I said when we first came in, to the show, they got some talented young cats on their team. They just are very young and very growing. They're not going to be there for another couple of years, but you let them stay in the game. Young players usually get the most momentum from being allowed to stay in the game, not a team that's aging out. So that's a very, very, very tough thing to be able to keep them in the game. That's the reason why Montreal almost lost on Saturday, because you're only up by one. If you were able to score on some of those other chances you had, they would have never had that great push that they were able to have in the end too, and you almost lost. So I agree with Hockey News. They probably actually did play better on Thursday at periods. It's just they were almost the Dallas Stars before Rick Bowness came in. That when they would score, they would be opportunists and just score in a big, quick succession in certain games. You'd be like, where the heck did this come with Dallas? That's almost where the Senators were in that game on Thursday, where they didn't really have as good of chances as they had Saturday, but they just score. So sometimes that just happens, but I definitely agree with him on that. That was a good take. He also said POJ looks great for the Pens thus far, and I agree with that too. I had questions about him being on their top line, and I know you guys did too. I think when you were on with John, you were saying how he was on the
Well,
top line. Turns out so far so
when we
good.
get to that,
It's not
yeah,
questions about him. It's just questions about being on the
he was a
top line,
junior
right?
player last year, and not a and
Yeah,
not under normal circumstances he'd be nowhere near the top line there. But we'll get to that when we get to that game, I guess. Uh, yeah, for sure. We have a few things about this. About watching that game, Alexander Galchenyuk looked better than I have seen him in a very long time in that game. He only played 10 minutes, but he'll do that every once in a while.
number.
What's that?
Yeah, somebody called that on last week's show. I don't remember who put that in the comments section, but somebody said now that Galchenyuk's back in, it seems like they're giving him more leeway. This could be when he breaks out. I can't remember who commented that. If you're in here in the
Yeah.
thing, I don't. It might have been Ulysses, who's not here, but it could have also been Hockey News. I'm not sure. Somebody definitely said they thought Galchenyuk was going to do better.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did have he only played 10 minutes, but he did show that he had some intention to his game, is what I like to say. It's such a frustrating guy to watch. I mean, what a waste of talent he's been in his career to just kind of float through the NHL where he had an opportunity to be, who knows? Who knows? I don't know what's going on in his life or whatever, but he bounced around the league for a reason. Now, on the other side of things, Dadonov, um, he's I've watched every game I've watched. He needs he needs a big guy on his line. Like he needs a point producer on his line. He's not going to be a guy that runs a line. That's quite obvious.
No, yeah, it doesn't seem like that's the case either. I definitely agree with you on that. It seems like he's a guy that needs an extra guy to push him along there, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's how some players are. Some players can facilitate themselves. Other guys need another guy, and he'll get it. I mean, they have guys on their team that can just develop to eventually be that guy. Like for example, Tim Stutzler.
Stutzler,
If you're
yeah.
going to put him on the way, yeah. So he'll get there. So I mean, I think he'll be fine if they hang on to him for the 3 years. Because a young guy like Stutzler or someone else, Josh Norris, how he's playing, I would keep him in. If you want to keep him in the middle, fine. But he can play wing very well too. Logan Brown's in that system. He's a big kid. I don't think he should play on your top line. But if he develops better, you could stick him in there if he facilitates and does well chemistry wise with those guys. Because the thing that I think we always leave out while talking about guys that might not usually be on lines, being on lines, is the chemistry factor. Sometimes the reason you're that good, like Chris Kunitz should not technically skill wise have ever been on a top line, but his chemistry with Crosby and others, because we saw it when he went elsewhere, he was buns. His chemistry and stuff is really good with what was really good with Crosby and others that played on the top six in Pittsburgh. On most other teams, Chris Kunitz's highest line would be their second line, and most likely on a deep team, like if it was Tampa, the highest he ever played, which he did play for, would have been a third line. So he was never really a top line player. A perfect example is also Connor Sheary. What he did that one season in Pittsburgh when he was playing up there. He's not a top line player, but the chemistry made his numbers pop. Like you see that all the time. I think sometimes chemistry outweighs if you're good enough, your upfront skill level. And unless if you're the Jets and you just put people on the bottom lines that like Patrick Laine, that should be clearly up. But that's a completely different scenario.
Hey, the goat is in. Welcome, John. How? Oh, we're. What's up? We're talking hockey, buddy. Can't life can be better. It's it's minus. Well, it's minus a lot here in Alberta. It's minus. I don't know what it is Fahrenheit. It's almost reached the point where the Fahrenheit and degrees are the same at minus 40. Not quite there, but it's pretty darn cold. But it all.
Ours is 37. It feels like 37, but it's only in the 20s. But it feels like 37 because it's really sunny out right
Oh,
now.
nice. I wish we're
Yeah.
on the minus side of that. Anyways, yeah. So, what were you? Oh, you were talking about Chris Kunitz and guys like that with Crosby. Crosby is a guy. Crosby's like the highest scoring third line winger, third line center ever. You know what I mean? Like he plays like a third line center, and he's always needed guys that can play like that with him. At least one. Chris Kunitz was one you brought. Sheary's small, but he plays like he cycles.
Brian Rust is
He
another.
Brian Rusk, yeah, those kind of guys. He loves to have those guys on his line. Another guy he loved, but unfortunately was a better center than a winger was Sundqvist. Um,
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
another guy, and he just he would rather have those guys on his playing with him. In fact, when he plays with highly skilled guys like Crosby, could never play with Lion. That's not. He doesn't do well with guys that
Because
can that play. How do I explain it? Like an open style like that.
yeah.
You know. So I don't even think Crosby and Ovechkin would do well sometimes.
Well,
Maybe
Crosby.
I'm wrong there, but
I think Ovi will be fine because you can just set him up for his one timer. But Crosby's a point guard, so you want to have guys you can point in the right direction on his line. That's why I'm saying they don't need to be amazing skill wise. You just need to be great at one thing or two things. And Crosby's just going to tell you, pretty much like Tom Brady does as a quarterback. You hone in on those great things of your game. Don't worry about anything else. I got you.
yeah,
That's pretty much what it is. It's Connor Sheary. You're a scrappy young little bulldog, pretty much.
yeah,
When he first came
yeah.
up.
He still
That
is. He still is.
yeah, yeah, he still
Yeah,
is. But I'm saying like he's not a 22-year-old anymore.
yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah,
so you're going to have to just keep going to the net, keep doing your thing, keep being a guy that's aggressive and a small guy. And look what he did with him.
yeah.
Kunitz, look how great. Kunitz also obviously being a veteran at the time took Crosby under his wing a bit. Those two got along really well, and it took off there. A guy like Brian Rust goes to the net, is an aggressive player, can play center if he has to, too. Good versatility. A great player to have on your team. That's helpful too. I mean, I would say Crosby's probably one of the best ever also quarterbacks or point guards, whatever you want to call him, in the history of the NHL too, where he can just kind of have anybody that can just do something. James Neal's another. James Neal's a good scorer, but he's never been as efficient as he was in
He didn't.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but he didn't do. He didn't connect with Crosby very well in Pittsburgh at all.
Oh,
So that he
yeah, you're
Crosby didn't like working playing with Neil.
Crosby was or Neal was with Malkin. You're right.
He
But
was with Malkin. Yeah, he didn't like
but
playing with Neil, but
let me think of. Oh, well, here's one this year. Usually you wouldn't see. They played what's his name when they put him in the lineup. That young kid that Pittsburgh has. You probably wouldn't see on the top on the that 25-year-old that they put in that forward that they put on the top line against us in the one game too. I have to go to cap friendly, but they kept putting that one kid that's like kind of like a pesky
Tanev or McCann.
no Tan
McCann.
second. Yeah, McCann's been up there too. He's a good example. I'm
Lafferty. Are
trying
you talking about Lafferty?
Lafferty.
Lafferty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They move Lafferty even up sometimes. You would never see Sam Lafferty on top.
Yeah.
Like they just put guys that you can that get annoying to the other team, and then Crosby's like, just piss them off so either I'll get the puck to you as they're distracted, or I'll just deke through the entire defense because you're pissing them off.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much like Konechny would be perfect. Hopefully, he never has to play with Pittsburgh, but if Crosby and Konechny played together, that would probably work really well because yes, Konechny's also a skilled player, but he'll just piss off the other team. As Crosby's doing his thing, he'll end up distracting the other team, and then Crosby will just deke through the entire defense, and they'll be like, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah. So
So like they would probably work out perfectly.
John's saying that, and it's true. I mean, it's been true for a while. Like it's sort of the elephant in the room there at Pittsburgh is that Malkin just cannot find a reason to play the game of hockey right now. It appears like it's there's something missing in
Well,
something missing with
it,
Malkin there.
yeah, he will. It could be the same thing. Maybe he knows where Pittsburgh's at, where once you know the writing on the wall, it doesn't always look so good. So
Maybe
like
it's the pressure of knowing that you've got everything on your shoulders now, but
like
not like
well,
Crosby's there as well. But I mean, it's if you don't succeed now, you're gonna have to leave, and maybe he's not handling that pressure very well, where he knows that like you said, the writing's sort of on the wall here. Either we're gonna be in, or they're gonna be
it's
talking about
Dubois.
trading. They're
It's
gonna
an
all
older
that.
version of Dubois right now. I think he looks like he's just kind of going through the motions until he goes somewhere or the team really takes off and they're on a run and he's more motivated. It looks like he's kind of going through the motions just like PLC was doing, or not PLC, Pierre Luc Dubois, PLB, I guess is how you do that. But he's just a guy that seems to be just kind of showing up and doing it all from muscle memory. How they say when you've been at a job for so long, you kind of just do everything from muscle memory and don't even put in any effort. That's kind of what it looks like right now.
Yeah. We'll talk about. Well, I guess we should talk about the actual game that happened for a bit. uh, I I actually against my I actually took that game, Penguins to win this game, and then afterwards I was thinking, you know what, the Islanders have had some time off to practice themselves up here, um, and then I kind of like too late faded the game, and I already had it in there, so I left it. But I did go with the over. However, the Islanders did look more like last year's Islanders in this game.
Yeah, they definitely looked better in this game. Jordan Eberle's having a pretty good season. I don't know, like if I accidentally gave that man luck from picking him to score a goal in overtime in the playoffs last year in our pool with overtime heroics, who's not likely to score ever since then. The guy's taken off. I think I might have gave him the Irish luck by accident. But the yeah, he's been doing really good. He's kind of another former Oiler there. Bring up Jordan Eberle. Pierre Oliver Joseph, who got shouted out in the chat already. Had a good game again. He was able to pot his first career goal. So congratulations to him in that game as well. And then Eberle came back with another laser of a nice wrist shot, and then our beloved Evgeny Malkin that we just talked about uh, tied it up in that game. That was a really nice back and forth game. That until the end, you didn't know who was going to win. I mean, I loved watching that game. I loved watching Anders Lee be able to win it in a nice tip in, a nice hand eye coordination goal there by him on the power play. That was just a great battle of a game. That was one of the more fun games to watch on the weekend for sure. Pittsburgh actually still outshot them by a tad bit, 31-26,
Uh,
but they just couldn't keep them at bay. The Islanders just kept churning the engine of the car, and you had nothing to cut it off. That's pretty much like they just couldn't stop them no matter what. It was almost like that Florida game that they blew the other night, where they just couldn't stop them coming back.
yeah. Yeah. It's again like we say, hey, good job for uh, for that kid to play what 22 minutes. Pierre Olivier Joseph played 22 minutes. Awesome for him to be able to do that. And he didn't look bad, but you don't want that kid playing 22 minutes, and that's really what it came down to. They got Matheson back, they got Letang back, and um, they still didn't look great defensively. That's getting Matheson back. If you're happy that you got Matheson back, there's probably something wrong with your defense. So that's really what. And Jari's catching the brunt of this, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the beauty and disgust of being a goaltender.
Yeah.
When you're going great, everything's, oh my God, this guy's great. This guy's amazing. I love this guy. I want to hug this guy if I ever meet him. And then when it's going bad, it's the exact opposite. I hate this guy. He stinks. It doesn't matter how everyone else is doing around him. It's kind of like the cliche with quarterbacks in the NFL. Whoever, how your team's going, your quarterback's going to get praise or blame. How your team's going, your goalie's going to get praise or blame. It's the same way. I don't think Yari's been as bad as people have said he is. I think the defense has been pretty spotty and shoddy in most games. Um, and it's just, you can't really get over a bad defense. We talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. Like having a good goaltender helps, but maybe Yori, not everybody's a game stealer. Some guys are just good goaltenders. It looks like Kevin Lankinen might be a game stealer because he's already done it a couple times for Chicago, but some guys are just the Mrazeks, the Reimers of the world that play well in a good system, but are not game stealers. And maybe that's what Tristan Yari is. And if he is, then once you get a system around him, he'll be fine. But until then, you're probably going to see a little bit of struggle.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a very good goaltender, but I don't think you can really put much judgment on a goaltender when you have kids in the lineup and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of people realize that goaltenders' reactions are based on what their defensemen's reactions are for a lot of shots, um, and they have to move a certain way. And if your defenseman is not doing something that they're supposed to be doing in a certain situation, it makes your reaction very difficult. And that seems to be what's happening with Jari. The great thing about him is you don't see him um, like doing what, say, Holtby did, and we'll get into that game, right? You don't see him like rolling his eyes and stuff like that. He's taking it like a team,
You mean being
a
Brizgalov?
great teammate. He's taking it like a great teammate, or because Brizgalov is like the ultimate of that. Yeah, for sure. Um,
Brizgalov is like that Family Guy episode where Peter Griffin's like a boopity boppity boo, boopity boppity boopity boppity boopity boppity,
yeah,
and like that's Brizgalov every single time somebody scores. It's like it could be literally 100% his fault, and he'll be looking at the defenseman like it's like he shot it right at your chest.
yeah,
like
yeah.
Brizgalov was on a whole nother level. Yeah, we definitely don't need to talk about him, but that's Brizgalov esque what Holtby did, rolling his eyes when some of it's entirely his fault.
CL
Not
Peyton was
fun.
in the here. I didn't see that Peyton was in here. Cool. How you doing, CL? What up, bro? Uh, Yeah, so
So
I think Jari will be fine, I guess, assuming something
I think he'll
happens with
be
the
fine.
defense.
I'm just trying to make the point. Like everybody sometimes judges good goaltending by can you steal a game from me? That's not what a good goaltender is. That's a great goaltender. A good goaltender is just someone that works well in a system you build around that goaltender.
Yeah,
A great goaltender and a potential Hall of Famer is someone that consistently steals games.
yeah,
A great goaltender is someone that steals games. So sometimes you're not that. Peter Mrazek did it a couple times in Detroit, but I would definitely not accuse him of being a game stealer. I would consider him being a good goaltender that works well in a good system. Example A, obviously Carolina. So that's really just the way he was, and that's fine. Some goaltenders are like that. Like some quarterbacks are like that. They only work well in a certain system. You can't put them in every system, and they become Tom Brady that just pulls a rabbit out of a hat and does great. Like that's not how everybody is. So I think that's just the only point I was trying to make. Is I think sometimes we hone in too much on
yeah.
what makes
Well,
a
I think
great.
a lot of it had to do with the fact that Jari did put up great numbers last year, and beat out Murray. Now I don't know. I'm not talking about perception here. That's what I don't understand about the perception. Do you think he just became a bad goaltender? He put up fantastic numbers last year. He beat out Murray, Is it
Oh yeah, that
poss?
doesn't happen
Is it
either.
possible that I mean, beating out Murray at the time wasn't that great, and that's what's going to make it worse, really. If Ottawa does like we were just talking about and finds the combination or whatever it is with Murray, and Murray becomes his old self, and Jari keeps on putting up numbers like he is right now, there's going to be more and more
Yeah.
pressure there. But I really, I mean, I look at that defense and I'm like, how can you blame a goaltender with those names in the lineup? I can't see how you can blame a goaltender there at all.
No, I mean you can't. It's like I said, like I wouldn't blame if Lankinen was struggling. I wouldn't blame him with how Chicago's defense is. It just turns out he's not.
Why do you have,
Uh,
wait a sec, why do you have to
so
be mad? Briz had some wise words. CL said that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean he's a cool dude to listen to on interviews. Yeah, I'll
He's
give you
funny,
that.
but we didn't pay him
Yeah,
$6 million to
he's
give us a
funny, but we didn't
chuckle
pay
in
him to.
interviews.
No, 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 no. Yeah, exactly. That's the big issue where I mean I don't understand how the planets lining up correctly has any effect on how the game goes. If somebody could explain that to me, then I'll accept Brizgalov's take. But I don't understand how if Jupiter lines up with Saturn perfectly perpendicular to itself, how that has any effect on the outcome of a
That's
hockey
just the way
game.
Brizgalov went with the media. Yeah, he got the guy mailed it in as soon as he got the big contract. Let's face it, he didn't care anymore. It was
No,
all a joke to him. He's a character. Yeah, he is a character. That's for sure. Yeah, it was all a joke to him after he got
yeah,
that
it's like,
huge
well, if
contract.
Jupiter is lined up with the North Star,
Mhm.
then we are going to beat the Dallas Stars. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what does that have to do with
Well, it
anything?
was his sense of humor, and it would have been funny. All of that stuff would be funny if he stopped pucks, right? Like
Yeah, probably.
anybody who didn't have him on their team, they could laugh at that because they're not stopping pucks for them. But as Philadelphia Flyers fans, that was not funny at all. That was like just horrible. But not, I guess nothing was going to be funny when you've got a goals against average of 3.10 and a .896 as a starter in the NHL, and you're paying
Yeah.
somebody $6 million a year. Hard to find the humor.
You're going to have to be as funny as, like, if you put Jimmy Fallon into Don Wrinkles and then made a combination of Stephen Colbert with Seth Meyers with every other great comedian in the world.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to find. That's the only way you're going to find someone funny after doing that bad statistically.
But as it turns out, for that game, it kind of worked. Like the Islanders won 4-3, and I think the game itself sort of painted a picture of the two teams. Now that I've seen the Islanders without Taves and Boychuk in the lineup, Mayfield's playing way too high. I thought maybe he might be able to catch that top four, but he can't. And Dobson's playing fantastic. He's going to be a great defenseman, and he might even just get better and better this season, and that'll be okay. But Letty is not what he used to be. They just have guys playing too high up in the lineup, and um, they might be able to turn it around. But it's not just that; it's their forward depth as well.
Hmm.
You got Komarov and Wallstrom, a 20-year-old Wallstrom, who wasn't putting up great numbers in the AHL yet, playing with Paggio on the third line. That is not something that looks good on paper at all.
Yeah, I mean, depth usually fixes itself out over time, unless if you're a team that doesn't think you're going to compete this year, and this is kind of just a middle year for you. They won't say that to the media, obviously, but internally that could be the case. Where maybe they're just kind of trying to figure out who's what's what, and like who's going to be part of the future core, who can play, like you were getting at, in the top, who needs to be more
Oh,
of a
yeah,
bottom six. This might be kind of a feel out year now that you
that's what it
don't have
feels
the
like.
Taves,
Yeah,
you don't have the leadership of
yeah,
Boydchuk
yeah.
and all that. Sorokin just came over. You're starting Varlamov more. Is Sorokin going to be able to eventually look better and show, okay, this kid probably could take the reins, or are we going to have to keep Varley longer to be able to wait until he shows that maybe at 27 instead of when we thought he was going to show it at 25. like all those things of different nature just kind of just feels like a feeling out period.
Yeah, it does feel like that as the manager. I think when they had to when Taves had to go and they realized that they weren't going to be able to sign him, I think they knew they were going to have to rework their defense, and that this year, I wouldn't call it a wash, but their expectations were not as high as last year for this year. I would have to
Hmm.
imagine. I think
I
they
think.
could end up being fine. They because they're going to have more cap room probably next year. I think, and
Yeah, they
with
will.
the expansion coming, like I've mentioned several times, if you're doing a retool, this is the year to do it because there's a lot of teams out there that are going to be looking to get some value for players that they would probably lose for nothing.
Yeah, no, that's entirely true. I think we should help out Hockey News. He posted he's going to do a video
Right?
later.
Yeah.
Better goalie duo, Rasker Halak. That's why I reacted with that, like, whew, like doing that because I have no idea. Like with that too, that's probably one of the hardest
I would say Price and
duos
Allen
to go
right
back and
now.
forth.
I would say Price and Allen simply because Halak has that Halak has that weakness everybody knows over the glove hand that and Allen at this point I don't see where his weakness used to be that he flopped too much, but it seems like he's worked with Price and
And the other used to be uh, in his recent struggles in St. Louis until last year when he dropped the glove hand, kind of
yeah
similar
yeah
to
yeah 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 that's
Lock
right
too
yeah
low,
yeah
but now he fixed that
yeah
since being in
I
Montreal.
imagine working with Price would help that right like to
Yeah,
work with a great player like Price to be they could work together where if you're working with Binnington it's probably not going to improve your game that much which when he left St. Louis, he kind of said, you know, it's going to be nice to work with a true professional like Price, which might have been an offhanded slap in the face to Binnington.
that was 100%. That was 110% an offhanded.
Yeah,
That was like, kid, get your act together, otherwise other guys are going to say this about you in the
yeah.
future.
But on the other hand, it's also true. That is also true. I mean, if you're going to
Yeah,
work
and
with
maybe he
somebody,
woke him up. Because look at
yeah,
Bennington this year. They said there hasn't been as much problems. He seems a little bit more straight headed.
mm-hmm.
So maybe that did wake him up indirectly. And then you're going to have the Blues calling Jake Allen in the offseason going, yeah, hey, we really appreciate the fact that you called out Jordan Bennington on the way out the
Well,
door.
yeah.
Um,
Apparently, that's the reason why they kept Husso there. That they decided to bring him up because Bennington and Husso worked together down in the minors, and Husso was one of the few people that could get something through the kid's head, like to smarten up and not think you're the best thing since sliced bread. So,
not think like you're Dominic Hasek.
yeah, like that was really the
Yeah.
problem with Bennington. He was arrogant and he didn't want to listen to anybody. So they brought Huso. The bad part about Huso is he doesn't stop pucks very well in the NHL. But so it's a trade off. You
Yeah.
improve your young kid, but not have the greatest backup in a year where that's pretty bad to have happen. But
More important to
it was
have.
a
Yeah,
tough call. But maybe later in the week I'll do that video. Okay, cool. All right, bro. We'll be looking out for that video for sure.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
We said for sure at the same time.
let's go to another game. By the way, we can talk while my thing is slowly. I'm a little concerned about that Wallstrom kid and what he's going to turn into. He's he's really growing at a snail's pace.
Yeah, sometimes it takes long. Usually I'll give you 3 to 4 years before I give much judgment on you. I kind of learned that from watching Russ Cohen's shows that he's on, where he says usually he'll step back and just say everybody grows differently, give him about 3 and some change years, and then
Yeah.
go for it. And I mean, once they become a pro, not from the draft, just so everybody is clear on that. I don't mean 3 to 5 years from the draft. I mean 3 to 5 years once they hit the AHL.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
don't really know until they're 24, but um, when you're drafted as high as he does, you really like to see production, especially in the AHL from a guy. like that. And I think it gets a little uneasy when you have another pretty much on the bust side of things, although he's an NHL player in Del Cole, who they picked fifth overall too.
Grant Belfour or Dominic Hasek? Who do you like better, Grant Belfour or Dominic Hasek?
Let me look at that. Who do I like better? Hashik or Tashik or Belfour? Is that the question? Oh, who do I like better? I think Hashik is the best goaltender of all time.
Well, not Grant Belfour. Grant Belfour's a baseball player. You know who I meant,
Ed
though.
Belfour.
Oh, Ed Belfour. Yeah, I called him the baseball player's name. Yeah, Ed Belfour. Yeah, I called him the former A's closer name by
Will
accident.
be 34 before he gets 40 goals in a season. I would say Hasek is. I think Hasek is the best goaltender. Best. Let's put it this way. I have never. He's the best person that I've ever seen stop pucks in my life. Now,
Yeah, I'll look up the difference of numbers real quick.
Belfour will have more wins. Belfour. Did he only? Belfour only won one cup, right?
Yes.
Belfour will have more wins, more games played. You're also talking about a little different era, kind of.
Yes, that's key. Like I said on last year's shows, you got to point out when it's a different era.
Yeah, you're talking
Or
about
not
because
last
I mean Hasek was in the clutch and grab time, but even at that, that Buffalo team had no business. The Buffalo team that went to the finals, that was the greatest goaltending expedition I have ever seen. And I mean that's saying a lot when Patrick Waz 1 or 2 years there in Montreal were insane when he brought them to the Cup.
Yeah.
Broder
Belfour
in New Jersey brought some New Jersey teams to the Cup that shouldn't have been there.
Belfour coming in at 5'11", 202 according to Hockey Reference, obviously made the Hall of Fame. He's a one-time Cup winner, a three-time All-Star, four times Jennings, two-time Vezina, and won the Calder in 90 and 91. He has 484 wins to 320 losses, 125 ties. Shutouts is 76, 250 goals against to a 906 save in his career. Hasek's save blows his out of the water, like you said, a little bit of a different era. He came in, well, not really. I mean, he started in 90-91, which is when Belfour won the rookie. They kind of came in around the same time. It's just
Well,
Belfour
Belfour
played.
was already playing, I believe, wasn't he? And
He started playing, but he wasn't considered a rookie, like a full blown rookie, because he didn't meet the game criteria until the year that Hasek started. He
oh,
only started playing like 1 year before
okay, so it
him.
was kind of the same era then.
Yeah, it was pretty much
Oh
the
yeah,
same era.
because Hasek had the reason why they traded Hasek was they had Belfour.
Yeah, so Ed Belford did, yeah, because here he is in Buffalo. That's where a bunch of his best numbers were. Then at late in age, he went to Detroit for 2 years, Ottawa for one, and then back to Detroit. And then he finished out in Detroit. Oh no, that's Hasek. I mean, I just confused Hasek. That was Hasek finished out in Detroit. He went to. It was kind of the same for Belford though. He went to Dallas at the end of his career, finished out with Toronto for 3 years, and then played one season with Florida.
Mm.
And he was the Panthers goalie in 06, 07 for one season. Still put up pretty good numbers of 277 in 58 games when he retired at 41. So Hasek retired at 43, playing his final year at Detroit. He still put up a 214 and a 902.
I know, right? I mean, that
Uh,
was a pretty solid defensive team in Detroit, though. But still,
yeah. He was the two-time Cup winner, six-time All-Star, three times Jennings, six-time Vezina. That's the big difference to me too. I mean, winning the Vezina six times is ridiculous. Two-time Hart, two-time Pearson. Um, yeah, I would say Dominic Hasek. I would take
yeah,
with that. I mean,
I just
yeah,
gotta watch guys. I mean, there's so many things that can happen in a person's career that they don't get a Vesna or they don't get a Norris or whatever the case may be, right? Drew Doughty probably in different eras would have had more Norrises than he
yeah,
had.
but if you get six, it's kind of like if you
Well,
win
yeah,
eight sides.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, that's going over the top. It's like Lidstrom getting what 5 or 6 Norris trophies, something like that. I
yeah,
can't remember what they were. I mean, that's just insane. That proves everything right there, for sure. No doubt about it when you go off. But there's a lot of guys like Brad Park. I don't think ever got a Norris. And if he would have played in a different era without Bobby Orr in it, he probably would have, you know?
Pretty much that was the only issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it doesn't, it's not the be all end all, but Hasek, I just never saw a guy stop pucks in that much, that well. I mean,
Such a weird
it
technique.
was a weird technique, and that was part of it too. But let's face it, he stopped pucks that nobody else
Oh
could.
yeah, who cares how you stop him if you stop him?
That,
I'm just saying that's
yeah,
that's
he
what made him
stopped
so
pucks that
enjoyable to
nobody
watch.
else would stop on a regular basis. Like that's really what makes him the greatest goaltender. Like he would stop pucks that were he'd be on he'd stop pucks that were going to the top hand corner and they were like, that's a goal. And it was like, what happened there? How did he get a skate blade on it or something? He did a little karate kick or whatever. Crazy. I've never seen anything like it. So yeah, Dominic Hasek for sure.
Yeah, Hasek would sacrifice his body for anything. That's why he was so good. Like you wouldn't normally do a karate kick and almost land on your head,
Yeah,
uh, coming down the because most people would be scared to do that.
I don't know how
But
he
he
didn't break his hand trying to stop a puck with his blocker the other way around. Like he even did that.
yeah,
Like he would do anything. You're right. He would do anything to stop a freaking puck. Use his head. He did all the time. Yeah, he's insane.
yeah, that guy probably has multiple undiagnosed concussions.
Who knows? He talks like he does. Okay, we'll go to the sad sack Leaf Canucks.
That game was a blowout. Yeah, that game was no contest pretty much
Yeah,
at the start of the contest. That game, that's all that I really have to say about that. I mean, that game was literally Simmer did good though. I will shout him out. I love Wayne Simmons. Obviously, he did good. Was able to pot two goals. Was physical in that game.
and then hurt
I think,
himself.
yeah, yeah. But that's just Wayne. I mean, that's gonna happen when you play the game he plays. But he did well. But other than that, I don't really have much to talk on that game because the Canucks just showed yet again that they are one of the most disappointing teams to start the season. Whether you play a lot of games or not, you still got to figure it out eventually.
I
And then Toronto is one of the best teams to start the season. They just keep consistently showing that, and the Canucks keep showing the exact opposite.
See, my concern with the Canucks is not that they're losing, um, because they're not talking about, they're not emphasizing enough how ridiculous their schedule it is. I'm surprised when I'm listening to even Sportsnet that Bieksa doesn't even go, okay, this is stupid. This is really stupid how much they're playing. It is. It's absolutely absurd. 16 games in 20 nights, and you're on the road, and you're going across Canada flying. It's ridiculous. There's no reason to think that they should be doing have a good record right now. My problem is not that they're losing. My problem is that they're losing in a whiny ass way. And Holtby, who they're going back to again tonight, by the way. I was like, what? Green, I love you, man. But what are you doing here? I think, but who knows? I don't know what happened in that room. Maybe Holtby stood up and said, you know what? I'm sorry I acted that way. I just hate losing. I know you guys hate losing, something like that, and said all the right things, and they're going to put him back in.
That's true.
You know,
That's
that's possibly what happened. But what Holtby did there was ridiculous.
yeah. No, I mean it was like I said, mini Brizgalov fest. Yeah, you can't react like that, but that's why it's just disappointing how that team's performing with all the skill and assets they have on their team. I think eventually, if Holtby doesn't figure it out, he's got about a week at most, and then Thatcher Demko is going to be just getting thrown out there too much times, probably at a certain point.
I forgot hockey news. Did you email me that freaking thing that you were talking about? Because I didn't see it in my emails at all.
Oh, the
The
thumbnail.
thumbnail and all that stuff like that, because I didn't see it at all. Maybe a good idea is comment in my videos. That would be a good idea. What did Holtby do? He didn't see the game. Okay, that's good. We should actually probably talk about what they actually did when they're doing that, not assume everybody watched the games. Uh, Holtby. Okay, what's his name? The winger that they got from Tampa Bay. Why?
JT Miller.
JT Miller. JT Miller missed an assignment against Matthews, and Matthews made Holtby look stupid. And Holtby looked over to the bench there, and it wasn't great. Looked over at the bench, started rolling his eyes, all of those sort of things like that. And then they scored another one after that, and he basically peered into the bench, like the look of death, like going, "What the f are you guys? What's going?" So not even what's going on. It was almost like pure hate. It was a like really, all right? Like he was giving a look of disgust to his team. And
It looked like a parent when they said, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed."
uh, is that what he
Pretty
is that what
much.
he said? Oh, a parent. Yeah, I'm not.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, no.
Oh,
I'm
a
saying
parent.
that
So yeah, yeah,
analogy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It looked like when that was like the scenario. It looked like I'm not mad. I'm just like when somebody says that to you, where you know that's worse than if they would just piss off. Like you would rather have them be pissed at you rather than say I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. What do I want for a thumbnail? Just the words uh, POW and uh, which let me think about that. The Pearl of Wisdom show, and then like POW on the bottom or something like that. Or see what I have for a thumbnail here. Welcome to the Pearl of Wisdom show. But put the word NHL in there, and like welcome to the NHL's Pearl of Wisdom show, or PO, and then like POW or something like that. Anything like that. I'm not picky. Just something that's going to be flashy and people are going to look at it and know it's an NHL program and know that it's Pearl of Wisdom. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that because we've seen it in the past. You actually they actually brought up a really good goaltender, and it's the reason why I kind of like Dominic Hasek over Ed Belfour, because Ed Belfour used to do that a lot. In fact, Ed Belfour was known quite, or let's I shouldn't say known. Ed Belfour has been called by a lot of ex teammates an asshole. He was a jerk to people in general. My parents live in Hamiota, Manitoba, and he's from a town in Brandon that escapes me right now. It'll probably come to me. And in that area, you mentioned Belfour, and people kind of go, "Oh yeah, Ed Belfour. He's a jerk." So that's that's what
Yeah,
people say about Ed Belfour, and and he did that on the ice. So I can't say, I don't want to spread a rumor about a person or what their personality is, but he did what Holtby did on the ice quite a bit more than any other goaltender I've ever seen.
yeah. Steele texted in the group, you can't use PAL for your logo because that's a used trademark already.
Oh, oh, okay. Oh, so I won't be using that for my logo. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, Steele speaks. He comes from the Nether. The what do we call what do they call them in the mafia? The head guy. What do they?
Uh, Not the ringleader. That's in something else, but you could use that, but
No,
that's not really what they.
somebody tell me what the head guy is called. He's the Capone. He's the Capone of Steel Flyers. So apparently I can't use the word pal because it's already copyrighted. So the Pearl of Wisdom show, the NHL Pearl of Wisdom show, or something like that. And yeah, that's all I really want. And
Could probably use NHL Pearls of Wisdom, but I don't think
that
that would
doesn't
be
get
trademark.
teammates to like you very much, no. But the good thing about, I mean, Patrick Waugh was known to, you know, was not really known for his wonderful personality either. But the difference between Belfour, Patrick Waugh, and Brzgalov is the stopping the pucks part. Most people can deal with your jerk mentality if you can stop the puck a lot. So
Yeah.
The
The
the Don. There you go. The Don. Brian Doyle, welcome. Thanks for chiming in right at the right time. He's the Don. The Dawn, steal the Dawn. Yeah, so it's been said. If you want to put any hockey, you know what? NHL hockey news reports, use your imagination, and I'll trust you on that, dude. And then send me a couple, and I'll even throw you a couple
yeah.
bucks or something. But then you'll also have the fame of knowing that you're Pearl of Wisdom thumbnail guy. So there you go.
Yeah, he done
I
the
say
thumbnail,
that.
the one Farabee one I used, and hopefully, well, I got the Phantoms one from him. I'm going to use when I start doing Phantoms podcast with Lyon and Matthew Strom on it. So, yeah, he definitely does good stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll quickly go over the Sharks and Ducks because they had a game before this where the Sharks, where it was a shootout, which was weird, and both of these teams basically are just getting through the season till they get their
Sputtering.
high draft
Oh,
picks, pretty much, right?
yeah, that's why I said sputtering.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's a question that's come up a lot with these teams, at least one of these teams. Do you think that Anaheim trades Gibson, or do you think they should?
um, it depends how quick you can rebound because John Gibson's probably not going to be a goaltender. I don't think that gets bad all of a sudden at 30 years old.
No, I
So
agree.
if you think you're going to be good and his longevity is pretty much the current Brodeur, then no. If you think that it's going to take a long time for you to be good and you need those assets in order to get there, then you kind of have no choice. The choice is made for you. So it really depends where their management position is right now. And for the Ducks, since I think all they have to do is get their heads out of their rear end sometime and just pick the right person rather than overthinking everything, which they did this year, it seems, at least in my opinion, in last year's draft. So if that can build, then maybe you'll be good there. That's all you have to do. You got to get out of your own head. You can't go, well, this seems like the better guy, but then this guy does A, B, C, and D, and you're like, no, just pick the guy that's overly more talented. If you have a top pick, you don't have to go, well, this guy does C, X, Y, and Z. It's if this guy's the best goal scorer, he's probably going to at least be Jeff Carter. So isn't Jeff Carter nice to have? Yeah, he is. So I mean, like you might like they just have to stop overthinking things at times. And if they do that, you should probably keep Gibson because yeah, Dostal's a good guy, but if Dostal comes up and does good as a backup, all you're going to have is a great trade asset in your backup goaltender. Then,
Yeah, it
kind of like if Holtby does take off and works out, Thatcher Demko's a potential great trade asset.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Demko's the future. Holtby's too old to be doing that. Holtby will be the one to be traded again if he gets traded at all. And the way his attitude was last game, if he doesn't change that around, that could be a lot sooner than anyone expected.
Yeah,
But
but if he works it,
yeah, I don't think so. I think they're gonna. I think they'll go unless Demko doesn't work out, but I just don't see that happening. I'm really concerned about what Holtby does for Demko. He didn't seem to work well with Samsonov, honestly, all that watch. And here he is working with a young Demko. I'm more concerned with that when it comes to them. As far as Gibson and Anaheim, to me it's simple. Do you think you're going to have a team in 2 years? Anything more than 2 years, trade him. Because not just because for your own purposes, not because he's not going to be a good goaltender in 3 years, necessarily,
yeah,
but
I
for
agree
but
with
for his
hockey.
career,
So
for his career. What's
yeah, I agree with Hockey News. He brought up both of their goaltenders. Until Erickson or Dostal's ready, I don't think they're trading him. They're not going to trade him and have Ryan Miller be their starting goaltender at this point
well,
of his
it kind
career.
of
That would be
depends on who they get back. They could get a pretty darn good goaltender in return that is almost ready to play now as well. That can fill in the gap
well, yeah, but I
until
feel like
those
that
guys
would also
come.
be stupid because you might have two pretty good goaltenders. Like it's enough. Like obviously having too many great goaltenders is a good problem to have, but unless if you're getting Askarov, you're not really like even if you got and you traded with Buffalo and you got Likenen back, I'm not so sure Ukko-Pekka Laitinen is going to be better than Lucas Dostal or Eriksson because he's not developing as quickly as Buffalo hoped. So
Yeah.
like there's a lot of different
I'm not
parts.
really talking about a guy like that. I'm talking about more of a filler guy that's older, and then you could get draft picks to go with it as well. And I'm trying to look down here who that may be that would be able to do that because they have cap space. Maybe like to Columbus. Just this is spitballing here. It doesn't totally make sense for Corpusalo and a couple, whatever. Corpusalo is a good filler guy until
Well, yeah, that's
Dostal or something like that comes in. I said I'm just spitballing. We'll go back to what we originally said. Grubauer. You could get Grubauer, Colorado's first, and a really good prospect. They've got really good defensive prospects coming up. They got so many prospects, they don't even know what to do with them all. You could get some really good prospects out of Colorado. Grubauer's a good filler guy until a guy like Dostal comes up. And then, them and Miller can bang away at it for 2 years until this team is actually built into a contender. And then hopefully Dostal is what you expected them to be. And if not, then you can go out into free agency and grab yourself a goaltender. Um, that's what I mean. That's something you could do. Or,
gotcha.
and it also kind of really depends on what Gibson is doing. And I've seen the reason why I lean towards possibly trading him is Gibson looks far too often like he's frustrated with his defense, kind of like we're talking about. He doesn't outwardly do it on the ice and embarrass them, but I'm wondering where he wants to be. I'm wondering if Gibson really wants to be there right now on some of the things that he does. And if that's the case, then you really got to trade him, right?
Hmm. I also do think what Hockey News said the Red Wings should draft Wallstat if he's available. If you want to talk about a goaltender that's going to take their range for the foreseeable, that's the Askarov of next year's
Oh,
draft.
the Swedish kid. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
if there is the damn draft, if they don't have back to back drafts in 2022, but if there is the draft, Wallstad's the best goaltender. There's a couple other guys, but I don't want to go into a deep dive on goaltenders in
it's
the middle of a show that was so.
it's
But
Wallstat and
Wallstad's a
Allenfelt
guy
and
very good.
Allenfelt. Yeah.
Allenfelt. Allenfeld's the other Swedish guy. I'm talking about there's guys that are not just Swedish that are also good in the draft as well.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And that would just be a whole different video that I actually do plan on doing on my channel at a certain point if there is the draft. So keep a lookout for that. But eventually I am going to do a goalie video. But yeah, Alan Felt's the guy that's the Lightning's top prospects. But that's all people from the same country. I'm talking about like there's guys all over the place in this draft.
Yeah. And then we've talked about this before. Kind of, I don't know if we beat it apart, but um, with the San Jose Sharks, first of all, what the heck happened to Timu Meyer? Like he has gone
Yeah.
completely south. That guy. That's really been devastating for San Jose Sharks for a team that really needs their top six to be effective. To have Timu Meyer basically just he he's
I
gone.
still think he'll be all right because, like, how I kind of was the guy that just sat here and stopped trying to defend him because it would just lead to a whole Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman debate whenever I tried to defend Max Domi to you and Steele sometime. That's kind of how I am with Timu. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll go elsewhere. I think he'll figure it out. We've now Max Domi is doing that with John Tortorella. Now, first of all, if he goes to Columbus, he probably will figure it out too. But I don't see them paying for both of those people. Um, but if he goes somewhere where the coach pushes the right buttons, and it's not that not Tom McCall, excuse me. It's not that I'm blanking on San Jose's coach
Yeah,
right now, but
Bugner.
what is it? Yeah, Bugner. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like he might not push the right buttons, but it's just if you have a more experienced guy, a guy that he knows he has to listen to, Like if he came here, he would probably work out fine because you're not going to look at Elaine Vigneault and go, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, because he'll kick your, you know what, like if you like, you can't look at Elaine Vigneault and just push him off because he'll do exactly what he did to TK, and no matter if you're one of the points leaders in the league, you're getting benched. So I mean, like that's just the way he is. So if he came to a team that pushes the right buttons, he'll be fine, plays with the right people. He's not doing that in San Jose. San Jose has no scoring depth. When you have John Leonard when he's in, who's a good undrafted guy that pushes the right cards when he's on the ice, but you're not supposed to have a guy like John Leonard all the way up your draft stock, like or all the way up your lines from where his draft stock was at. So I mean, that's also just they have guys that are in positions that they should not be in, kind of due to their lack of depth, similar to the Anaheim Ducks. So that's why I would just say that this team is in a feeling out process themselves. They're trying to figure out where the heck they're going to go. Leonard, they did move down now after he had a good first couple games to get. Oh, excuse me, he's a former sixth round pick, not undrafted, but late round pick that you hope figures it out, look good in his first game. You have a lot of those in San Jose. You got a lot of late round or someone drafted guys that you're trying to put into a lineup to see what they do. It's working in Chicago with you have Kurashev who's playing well, and you got Pius Sutter who's playing really well. It's not working as well in San Jose.
The CL brought up LeBanc in just one goal, and I think you brought up a pretty good point there, sort of. This, I think, the what's happening with Meyer is very responsible defensively too. He's an underrated two-way player, and I think what's happened there is their defense is so bad that he's just focusing too much on the defensive side of the game to pay attention to the offense. And
Yes, that's
that is probably the same when CL here, great CL that comes up with some great stuff. LeBanc just one goal is probably the same. LeBanc is a lot the same. And that's really affecting this team. They can't find that. As a forward, it's very difficult to play with the defense that really is just as bad as that. And
yeah,
you feel inside of you obligated to be much more on the defensive side of the puck, which San Jose is pretty much experimenting with doing now. And this game was a good example of that. If the one real bright spot and something we both brought up, and we're going back to goaltenders here, is that Nabokov's work with basically like the goalie whisperer. Dubnik
yeah.
looked exceptionally good in this game.
Yeah, which was a plus because he's the one that, even though Jones's stats wouldn't say so, hasn't looked as squared in games. Where that was the game that he played and actually looked squared to the shot, actually looked in position. So that was very good to see for Dubnik. In terms of something Hockey News said, the reason NFL's probably underrated as a prospect is just because of who the starting goaltender is for Tampa Bay. Well, it's like the same thing why Dostal and Eriksson Ek are underrated in Anaheim system. You got John Gibson as your starter, so there's no need to talk about the other goaltenders in the system. When you got Andre Vasilevsky as your starter, there's no need to talk about the other goalies. When you got Carter Hart as your starter, there's no need to talk about the other goalies in your system when it comes to Urson and Fedotov, that I'm sure Rowdy Ross, others that I'm sure CL knows. So there's just no need. So that's pretty much why they become underrated. And then eventually they come up and flourish, and you're like, where'd this kid come from? And he's been good the whole time. It's just he was behind one of the greats.
Yeah, yeah. Ron Wilson in the past has done a really good job with this San Jose team in difficult circumstances. He was wanting to trade Thornton and Marlowe long before they did for to do a rebuild. Neither one of them would would touch their no trade clauses. And there was actually a battle going on quite a bit with that. But he ended up making a pretty darn good team out of them with that, even though they were getting older and almost brought him to the finals, he made some really good moves. Uh, and then everything just sort of fell apart. To me, it seems that there's an ownership group here that doesn't want to let it go. And now it's got to the
Yeah,
point where they've not let it go for so long. It's sort of like that, you know, that relationship with the hot chick you had when you were young. Well, maybe some of you guys did. I had it one time. Well, twice. I ended up marrying the second one, but that you held on to just because she was so hot, but everything else was like, this ain't gonna work. And then by the end of it, it was just an absolute disaster. That's kind of what San Jose feels like right now. They held on to the sexiness of their organization. Carlson was like, you know, just trying to hold on to this. Or
The Phillies did that too long
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. The
The
Philadelphia
baseball team,
Philadelphia.
they held on to Chase Utley, they held on to Rollins, they held on to all their guys, and who were hoping for some rabbit to pop out of a
Yeah,
hat that was magical and mystical and gave them a great run again, which was just never going to
yeah,
happen. So
yeah,
that's how Giants ownership was for San Francisco Giants. Another analogy to baseball too. They hung on to the Crawfords, the Buster Posies, who they still have, Brandon Belt, and others of the world. When you're likely Gabe Kapler had to have the best season in a while last year, but you're likely not going to have that rabbit randomly appear or genie randomly appear, whatever analogy you want to use, to just make a magical season occur all of a sudden.
Hey, Avatar. Yeah, actually, exactly. The Edmonton Oilers too. I mean, we could. There's a long list of franchises in general that have done that. Hey, Avatar. How you doing, my friend? We are doing amazing. Talking about hockey all day, so I don't know if there could be much better than that, really. Uh, so we're doing fantastic. We just talked for about 15, 20 minutes about the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks. Who does that? Who does that? And it was actually interesting. At least it was to me, anyway.
Yeah. Hockey news. I think I get that. I'm subscribed to the hockey news, so I'm pretty sure I get the draft books by being subscribed, or I'm not sure if I have to pay extra for them, but I'm 95% sure I'm supposed to get them just from my subscription. If I have to pay extra for them, I probably will, but I don't think I do. But if you know, let me know since it seems like you're also subscribed to it.
I wish I would have kept my old friggin' hockey news. Those things are getting to be worth something now. Not just that, not just the money wise of it, but you know the guy who the legend, the hockey guy here on YouTube. He's got stacks and stacks, and he brings them out and he reads them, and
Yeah,
that's
here's
that's how he does his program. It's pretty cool. He has that old school hockey feel to his channel. I really enjoy. I really love that part of the hockey guy. But yeah, the Hockey
yeah,
News magazine, legendary.
here it is.
I've read so
Let me
much.
send it to the back.
I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait until the Hockey News would come out. It came out weekly, right? And I was like, what, looking at the
This comes out. I
that one,
get the
yeah.
digital. Yeah, now it goes. You get a digital copy if you subscribe that way. You get a digital copy through your email. Then the magazine comes in if you still because I still want a physical thing. I don't feel like looking on my phone to read a magazine. So I still want the actual physical thing so I can look at it like I do that for my videos. I've had when I did team previews, I've had the spreadsheets from the hockey news for each team so I could read last year's stats right in front of me and all that. And then you can scan it on your computer if you really want to do it that way to make it larger too, because sometimes it's a little small in there. So if you want to make it larger, yeah, they're very good to have for sure. I definitely agree with that. This is like the one they just gave is the money and power one,
Yeah.
which kind of tells you like who the best owner, like what the guy every ownership group does, who's the most
Who's the
powerful
most powerful
guy.
in the league? That one, yeah.
Gary Bettman is who they put as that. Because he actually does have a pretty good grasp. If it was some other leagues, the commissioner probably would not be baseball ranked first.
Yeah.
But there's other sports there that would not be the case. But yeah, it's definitely recommended. I would say to get that for sure.
Yeah, I love the hockey news. The hockey guy rules. Absolutely. He's become a Canadian staple, the hockey guy. He's getting to be legendary status up there with Gordon Downey, who is I don't know if you know who the Tragically Hip are, but they are the legends of Canadian rock. And he's sort of becoming getting that kind of status. That guy works his ass off, man. He does like 4 videos a day, and him and his wife, is all bought into it. It's just a great story. I really love the
Yeah.
guy. He's
Well,
fantastic.
Gord's the one that Trudeau couldn't believe it when he passed. He's the one that was friends with your prime minister, I believe.
He, Gord was friends with everybody. That was what made him
Yeah,
so amazing. He was just an incredible human being. Incredible human being. He does it. He did that final tour
because I'm pretty
with
sure.
brain cancer. Like,
Oh, did he? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's what Eddie Money did. A guy that's popular in the
yeah,
states that
Eddie
he had
Money. Yeah.
laryngeal cancer, I think, and still went on tour and
Wow.
finished out stuff
I
before he
didn't
died.
know that. I didn't know that.
It was some form of cancer. I think it was larynx. It was something bad. But yeah, Gord, I remember your prime minister literally had a public service announcement for the death of a musician. I remember watching that on YouTube. It was him like crying, like
Yeah.
talking to the country about the death of
Yep.
Gordon. I don't think there's ever been a president for the death of a musician that's come on and had a PSA.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah.
by the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that was really cool to see how much he understood
Oh yeah.
how much of an impact Gord Downey had on his nation
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. Gord Downey is probably as Canadian as you can get. Like that, he is the symbol of Canadian. You could let's put it this way: you could take the leaf off of the Canadian flag and put Gord Downey's face on it, and I don't think anybody would complain at all. Like nobody. He's
Yeah.
yeah, he is what Canadian is. Uh, okay, good for him. You guys next. He says we're next. We're now. We're legends right now in our minds. No, you're a legend, CL. You guys are all amazing. Okay, let's get to some games because we have 2 hours. We haven't even got close to the game, like usual. We're we're going taking things. Saturday. Was there
Hold
any
on, let
more
me
on Saturday we were
get
gonna
to
get
work
to? Or,
outside now.
oh, we gotta go to the. We
Had
gotta do the
other stuff.
Oilers Flames game. To my chagrin.
Yeah, that's the one I'll probably let you talk about more because I was out after we went to my friend's house. I didn't watch any of that game,
Well, I hated
and
it.
then I fell asleep when I got back. Yeah, so
If
like,
anybody knows out there, I am an Oilers fan. I had I had the Oilers in a parlay. I had the Oilers ML. I when I was on the show with Steele, we were talking about this game, and I said that the Oilers were going to destroy them, and I was confident in this all the way, like all the way. And they came out, and I don't even know really what went wrong, to tell you the honest truth. The first the first period, I was so they were destroying Calgary. And I think what went wrong is the same thing that's gone wrong with the Oilers all the way through is they don't continue they stop playing their game as you've heard it over and over and over again from people. It sounds like a cliche, but the Oilers game is a very run and gun type game. It's a very fluid game. And they start relaxing. It's possible that it may be impossible for the Oilers to play their game. I'm starting to get to the point now where maybe they got to change things up a little bit because maybe it just takes too much energy to play the way that the Oilers need to play to win. But as soon as they start running out of gas, the wheels fall off and they can't seem to get the gas going again enough. It's what's happening over and over and over again. Um, and it was frustrating to watch. Calgary came back in the second and just started running all over them. All of them. Milan
yeah,
Lucic.
I saw Lucic's goal, which was actually a nice goal, which I don't find myself saying about Milan Lucic very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting to say the least. I don't normally compliment that man.
No, no, I don't either.
Yeah,
He looks like he got in shape over the summer for the first time in his life. He looks like it.
well, since
Somebody
Boston,
was able to speak to
definitely
him
in
the
shape
right
back
way.
in Boston. I
What's
wouldn't say he was always out of shape in Boston, but
Well, he was younger, so he was able to handle the fact that he wasn't the most well-conditioned athlete. He never hit the gym like crazy besides building muscle. As far as cardio and stuff was concerned. That's been well known his whole career. But when you're younger, you can handle that, right? But as you get older, it starts to wear on you. Like, for instance, Kessel. Hey, Ricky
How's it
Picks.
going, Ricketts? Hope everything's well with you.
John from Ricketts Picks. We're talking about the Evan.
NHL. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say for hockey rumors, when you come back in, let me know if you know if I get the yearbook with the subscription, since you seem to be subscribed to it too, or if I have to pay extra on top of my subscription in order to get that. Just let me know when you get a chance. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, okay. So, anyways, about this game, Chris Tanev played 22 minutes and 22 seconds, the most out of anybody on the roster. The thing about this game is, I never really saw a Calgary team that should necessarily win the game. Um, the it's and really Koskinen had probably his worst game of the year. It really comes down to that. If Koskinen, but Koskinen's played every single game this year, and it was
Other than
just
one, yeah, you can't blame him really.
you can't really blame him. It looked like Koskinen just ran out of steam, and I can't say the Edmonton Oilers played horribly. It's just this is happening so much with them. They can't seem to keep playing that game. And it's frustrating because if they can, even if they play it 85% of the time in a game, they can destroy their competition. But they keep on falling down back into the same way of basically falling back on their heels again. Or when they get tired, they start trying to trap, and they just can't do it. They can't do it. As soon as they try doing it, pretty much any team that they play against ruins them, and that's really what it comes down to for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is Smith confirmed for tonight?
Yes, they is.
He is? Okay.
Yeah, I'm overall day for that game.
Okay.
Smith is confirmed for tonight. Yeah, and I'm overall game for that. I'll tell you that right now because Smith really wasn't much. Hasn't been having that great of a career the last 2 years to begin with. He hasn't played a game in a long time. Uh, I mean, Ottawa's not the highest scoring team in the world, but they'll probably pot a couple there. Uh, yeah, it's and Edmonton will. That's the thing is, Ottawa Edmonton should be able to beat Ottawa no matter what. If they played as well as they do against Calgary, they should beat Ottawa fairly handily. However, Ottawa will probably
Yeah.
pot a couple against Smith,
My
but
friend did just text me from that we do the Disciples of Ed podcast if people that are Flyers fan want to listen to that. The Bruins. Where did I get the Bruins from? The Devils and Flyers games for Thursday and Saturday have been officially postponed due to the Devils outbreak with COVID. The
yeah,
Flyers will not be playing officially now on Thursday and or Saturday of this week due to the fact of unless if they find a different scheduled team that has openings that they could give them in one of those gaps, due to the fact of COVID. So the league could do that. Maybe they'll play one of those 2 days with a different opponent, but as of now, they won't be playing anybody those days.
and I just remember. Did you share this to your Twitter?
Do
Yeah, we're gonna get in trouble. We just had a meeting this morning. So
I
we
did.
had one job, well, two, to do the stream, and the only thing he asked is to share it out to Twitter. And both of one job, you have one job. He said it like 5 times. Like we said, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, really, you gotta share it out to Twitter. Okay, yeah, Steele, no problem. Okay, I'm serious. Everybody share this out to your Twitters. Tell everybody. Everybody share it out to your Twitters. Because we don't get in trouble. We're going to get in trouble. I'll even add it over to Steele so he knows that we did it.
Only about an hour and a half late, but
Yeah,
sorry.
whatever. Well, he said you can do it at any time.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I have my chair stuck on a whole bottom part of my bed.
Okay. Okay. I got to do this. This it's hard. I'm not a multitasker. Okay. I get talking, my mouth gets moving, and I forget how to do everything else. And my mouth is moving most of the time, so I don't get much else done. Okay, so about one other thing I'll talk about that game is Pulya Harvey played very well, and that is a breath of fresh air because that is going to bode well for the Oilers in the future
Yeah,
for Pulya Harvey playing well. Brings another dynamic to that top six that's desperately needed. So I think everything will be okay. Kyle Turris still sucks. Uh, and that line of putting Lindholm in the middle for Calgary has been very good. He played
Mhm.
22 minutes. I love that guy. And Matthew Kachuk. I mean, I just wish he wasn't a
He said
Calgary
better
thing.
late than never.
Better late. Oh, he did that. Yeah.
Oh, funny. Yeah, hey, at least it's out better late than never. Or never.
Steele said that. That is the
Yeah.
truth. Yeah. Oh, it just clicked in my head. Okay. I'll, I'll send it to Peyton. He can send it out. Everybody else do it too. There, that's how I'm going to get away with this because I'm going to tell everybody to share this out to your Twitters now so I don't get in trouble. Okay, let's go to the next game. Where's my thing? Okay, we'll go to the next game. Oh, I think that's going to be the Sunday now. We're going to go to Sunday now. So everybody catch up. Go to your Sunday games. Flip your duotangs over to Sunday's games. your notebooks over to Sunday's games,
Whatever your phone,
and
yeah.
we'll go to the beastly game of the Flyers versus the Capitals. I'll let you run on this one. Well, I could too
Yeah.
because I'm a Flyers fan too, but you go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, as I said in my live I did yesterday when I hopped on with people, I know hockey news and a couple in here joined, so I appreciate that. As Steele keeps texting, so my phone goes off in the background. But the that one was on him. But the score was 7-4. Ovechkin looked really good. He did really well again. But we won, so who cares? Like Steele said, it doesn't matter. Yes, he continued to do well on Super Bowl Sunday. Good for him. I'll buy him a medal or something. Um, but it doesn't accomplish anything because they lost. The Flyers, for the first time, finally showed full grit and perseverance in this game. They battled through a full 60 and never showed a big lull period at all. They got outshot by a good margin, but I don't know what it is with this team. It seems like they're more of a we score in bunches opportunistic style than we do have to have 40 shots. Because you can look at it on the flip side, being able to score 7 goals on 23 shots is a very good percentage clip of scoring in comparison to only scoring 4 on 37 shots.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's kind of the way that I would choose to look at it there. I think they looked a lot better. We saw with Cooch back how Long got to adjust into his regular role. And what did he do? He scored. I don't think he's going to score a hat trick every night, obviously, but he scored a hat trick and played great and did very well back in his regular setting. Everyone got to be comfortable and settled into what they're exactly supposed to do rather than kind of being all over the place, having to move the lines because Sean Couturier's out and everybody has no idea where the hell they're going. Like everybody got to be settled in and in a good spot. Robert Hagg even scored a goal in the game he was put back into. And it's his birthday today, by the way. So happy birthday, Robert Hagg. And they ended up doing really well in that game. And Van Riemsdyk, obviously, again, had a key goal. So I mean, he continues to do well. Oh, you had all the great signs moving forward that we talked about last week. We want to see the Flyers show in a game in order to be more confident that they're actually continue winning, but in I guess, sexier ways and not like, oh my god, I want to pull my hair out. Like while you're watching the game, even though they win, that's what they showed the signs you need. The more consistent defense, and they didn't even have Myers back in yet. So imagine how it will look when Myers and a guy like Cooks is back in. So that's the other side of that equation. You're going to have everybody back in. You're going to have everybody churning. I think I think this game was a great sign moving forward, and it just shows how we talked about how pivotal Sean Couturier is to the game. And also, oh no, I'm sorry, we did have Myers in that game. We did have Myers back in. I forgot we didn't have Myers in. I was thinking of a Friday's game. But we did have Myers back in, and he played well in that game. I mixed up the two games there, so you had everybody back in, and they did play really well, and that was huge. All Baku Bell played well. The only guy that still sometimes annoyed me was Gustafsson, but that just seems like that's going to be a daily occurrence. That I'm just kind of over at this point and just expect to be annoyed by about 3 to 6 plays a night by him. But that's just where that's at when he's in the lineup. Other than that, they looked really good, and he looked good too offensively. I'll give him that. But that's what I expect him to look good at. He made some offensive plays and annoyed the heck out of me on defense. So I mean, we'll see what comes of him, but at least everything else was well.
If Gustafson can pot 50 to 60 points in an 80 game season, then we can forgive other things. We can forgive even his bonehead moves. Like we can forgive that quite a bit for sure. But
Yeah, but you have to
he's got to be
consistent.
producing that though, and if he's not producing that, he's not effective. So like I said when they picked up Gustafson, I was critical of it to a certain degree because of what he had done previously, but I was confident in the fact that AV has a tendency to get things out of players, like he did with Hayes, and AV has got a lot out of a lot of players on that lineup. Let's face it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have it's what you said. You have to have a 50 to 60 point guy like Hal Carlson was excused, where now everyone's going, "What the hell's wrong with Eric Carlson?" Because he's not putting up the points, and he was never that good at defense. So like that's more. Once you have a guy that was more of the offensive, the great all-time offense defenseman, if they can't do that anymore, eventually they kind of become obsolete, unfortunately for themselves. Where Gus needs to consistently produce at that level, otherwise you're not going to deal with his issues on the defensive zone unless if he corrects those. And it seems like he's just not the type of player that's able to do that because that's just not his game. He's more of a jump up play, almost like a forward as a defenseman type player. And that's fine. Now it probably fits into the system better that everyone's healthy rather than everyone was kind of a mixed up bag going all over the place. But you still need to be able to hone it in exactly who Gus fits in with time going forward if you're going to keep him consistently in the lineup.
Yeah. Um, when Myers comes back, it's going to be interesting to see who comes
Well, no,
in.
Myers did play. I misspoke at first. He did play Sunday, and Gus still played with
Oh
Robert
yeah,
Hagg.
that's right, he did.
Yeah, Gus played because Hagg played Sunday, Myers played Sunday, Provy played Sunday, Braun played Sunday, and Eric Gustafson and goes. That's all the defensemen played on Sunday.
Okay.
So
Now we'll go over to Washington a bit. Vanacek had his real first boner of a game. Didn't look really great in this game.
gonna happen.
It's good.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I mean, you're another guy that's been playing a boatload. They didn't really put in. They put in Anderson in this game, but other than that, they haven't put in their backups since really Samson. I don't even know if if one of the backups has played one game honestly since Samsonov has gone out. I would have to go back and look, but I just don't remember one of Washington's
No,
backups
they didn't.
playing. So like he's been playing all the time too, and that's going to catch up eventually. I mean, it's fine. He's going to be fine. You have a very good young goaltender. There's going to be a game that a guy's off. He's going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I. It's a lot to ask for a kid to be doing what he did. He had a good run. We'll see what
He
he
won the
does
rookie
after.
of the month.
He,
Yeah, I mean, he's a good goaltender. You don't just win the rookie of the month out of luck.
yeah. Oh yeah,
I
he's
mean,
a good goaltender.
yeah. So I mean, like,
He is.
he's going to
He had a good
perform.
run for sure. How he's going to
Yeah,
be as a goaltender as a whole, we'll see. But he definitely had a good run, and he showed that he's an NHL goaltender for sure, no doubt about
Yeah.
that. But this is a team that had a lot of injuries, or a lot of people out. They
No,
had
Anderson went in yesterday.
Anderson did go in, yeah, for a
Yeah,
little bit.
that's when he played Hockey News because they took out because Fracali was listed as their backup, like I said in my morning video in response to you on Cap Friendly. Then all of a sudden they switched it before the game, and Anderson was listed as the backup instead of Fucali, and then they ended up putting in Anderson because Vanacek had his first struggle. That's the only time a backup has played yet for Washington in the game that he came in for a short Clipper period. And yeah, that Hag slap shot was probably the best shot of his career, CL.
Yeah, probably. For sure. Closed his eyes on that one. Uh, yeah, Fucali, if you're getting to the point where Fucali might come in, you're getting to the bottom. Fucali hasn't been able to, never turned out. He was wasn't he a first round pick by Montreal too, Fucali? And he played in the World Juniors. He was
Yeah, he was good. Let me check his. He's either a first or a second. Uh,
The thoughts on PK Subban, or not PK Subban, or are you talking about uh, his brother, Malcolm Subban? Is that who you're talking about? We're talking a lot of goaltenders today. We'll be talking about that in the games coming up, probably.
second. 2013 second round 36. It was like right around the first
Yeah,
round because it was 30. So beginning of the second round was Zachary Fucali.
yeah, he was in the World Juniors though. Uh,
Yeah, no. Yeah. You're spot on about that. I just didn't know if he was first or
I
second.
think he won a gold, if I remember
In the
correctly.
World Juniors with Canada, he had in his first one in 13-14 a 242 and a 902. Then he went off, or in 13-14, excuse me. In 14-15, he went off, and in 5 games had a 120. He was 5-0, two shutouts, and a 939 save percentage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. E money's in. I got to talk to you, E. You were part of our discussion in our meeting this morning, so we'll have to
Caps
talk.
do need to get healthy too. Yeah, he's right, but they're battling through everything, so it seems like they're a team that definitely has showed that next man up mentality.
Yeah, Caps do need to get, and I think I wanted to talk about that game. It looked like there's a lot of guys that having injuries is one thing. Usually the first couple games it's okay, but playing in the NHL is a grind that you have to get used to. And Washington's had a lot of players that have been playing above their heads, and it just eventually wears on you. Some people's are never going to have that in them to be able to play that many games over and over again in the NHL, and
Yeah,
and that was
but who
apparent. That was
knows?
apparent on that night.
Yeah,
Obi was pretty much carrying the whole team, and he just couldn't carry them enough to get them to where they want. Although they did outshoot Philadelphia,
yeah.
it
Who knows?
was really more of a goaltender issue, but part of that is the goaltender. Vanacek has never played in NHL competition that many games in a row. He's bound to get tired. Yeah, it's just
Yeah. Well, my whole thing is too, though. Who knows? Was we've seen goaltenders time and time again, more recently than ever, become late bloomers. You saw Francois, if he can stay healthy, came over, had success. You saw a guy, obviously, guys like Tim Thomas going back tended to have better success as he got older rather than when he was younger. So there's different guys that tended to do better as they grew. Even Kippersoft, in some sense, had some of his best years in his 30s. So like there's guys that really do well as they grow. Maybe to be at least a Francois at 28, 29, if Okoli gets a chance, you never know. I mean, we've seen different guys find it later. If I mean, Copley's a guy that's always looked good at times in the AHL. Maybe if he goes somewhere like Arizona in a trade, if then they would actually use him and he would actually do good as a backup. Like there's things once the guy goes elsewhere, sometimes they do fine. It's just you don't know. It's weird to judge goaltenders are the hardest one to judge definitely when it comes to prospects because some guys will just hit it at 29 and they were supposed to be good. Like for example, Corey Crawford. Corey Crawford got drafted. If you look at him way back, I think in '03, and took that. It was like '03, '04, and took that long to come up until he started becoming Chicago, one of the best goaltenders, if not the best goaltender in Chicago Blackhawks history. So I think with goaltenders, it has to be a big patient. Yeah, he was the 50 or the 50 something pick. I think he was the second round of the '03 draft. So I mean, you got to sometimes goaltenders take a little bit longer, and then look, he might be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm not saying Zacky's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Good for him if he does. But the you got to be patient with goaltenders. Sometimes they're hit later and they're due fine. And sometimes the only reason they don't come over late is the same with Francois. He enjoys playing in his home country, and he doesn't want to come over right away. So sometimes it's as simple as that. Fedotov for the Flyers is the same way. And first of all, what the hell would he come over for? We have Carter Hart. But the like you just enjoy playing in the K. Ursan enjoys playing in Sweden, even though he plays for an absolute dog trash team. He still enjoys playing in Sweden. He plays for like the equivalency of their last year's Detroit Red Wings. They're a dumpster fire. But he enjoys playing in the country at least. So it's definitely something that plays into it as well.
Okay. Oh well, I don't know if he was talking about Malcolm Subban, but we're going to talk about. No, we're not going to talk about it. Who was it? Oh yeah, it was. We can talk about that game real quick. Subban Blackhawks versus the Stars. That was a surprise game, and yeah, Malcolm Subban. It's the goaltender uh, theme today. Malcolm Subban, this is two good, very good games in a row. Have they found the combination for this guy?
They might have. I mean, you see, also, what's better at motivating someone than seeing they found the other guy? That should motivate you the best when you have Lankinen come in, do so well. You know you got to stay on his tail, otherwise you're going to become an after effect very quickly. So it looks like that motivation of saying I got to stay on his coattails might also just be what has worked the most for Subban, and he's been very good in back-to-back performances. I expect him to, yeah, continue to be consistent. Yesterday, they actually gave Lankinen a mental day off entirely, and if and what's his name, Colin DeLea, if Subban got injured, was actually listed as their backup because they wanted to give Lankinen a full mental day, whereas he's been in so much. So if Subban does this well, then yeah, they definitely have more flexibility. And then if the defense starts playing a little bit better, like it has been of late, you might be able to throw DeLea in there and get his confidence back up a little bit too, if you want to give that a shot. So they have different things to play around with. Having two guys that actually have found it now, if Subban continues to do well, is definitely helpful. Now you just have that third guy that you might want to kind of figure it out a little bit because I know they were high on DeLea. Also, Crawford complimented him on his way out. So I would say they might give him another shot. I don't think he'll be at the final shot. They seem to listen to, other than the fact of when he wanted to stay on the team. The organization seems to listen to Corey Crawford, other than with that one important thing.
Well, it was
But
just timed for him to go, and they had to rebuild. I mean, you got to give props to the Chicago organization for doing the way things that they did. Let's face it, we were all thrown for a loop with what happened here. I did hear them talk about Lankinen quite a bit. I didn't know much about him, and that's odd for me. I usually do know players that are coming up. They've kept it pretty quiet. But when you look at the makeup of this team now, moving forward, I mean, it seemed all doom and gloom. I was almost calling Chicago to be the worst team in the league. I have to admit it. Um, but here they come against the Dallas team. I watched this game,
yeah,
and
so did I.
yeah, I watched this game, and Dallas just couldn't get a hold of the Chicago players. They couldn't play their game against Chicago. Chicago outskated them a lot of the game. They wanted Dallas wanted to play their hitting, slow them down type style, but guys like Keith. Keith still looks great.
Hmm.
Mitchell and Bodan are moving the puck out very well for a young goaltender tandem, and the forwards are playing a very elusive. The word I would use is elusive. DeBrincat, uh, you mentioned Pius Suter, um, Shaw, Kane.
Kurashev.
They're very elusive type players that all of them are, and they're playing. And Kubalik too. Kubalik,
Yeah.
remember who are we talking about? Where they just find their way into the spot, and you wonder how the heck they got there. And next thing you know, it's behind the net. I can't remember who we are talking about, but Kubalik is a lot like that, and they got a
Yeah.
lot of guys
I
like that.
remember. Yeah,
And
well, DeBrinket's the same as Pasta. He just came in and didn't miss a step. It seemed like he was playing the whole season.
yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
don't worry, guys, I'm here and I'm going to save everybody along with Patty here.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. like, he just came in and looked like $1 million. That was a beautiful play too. The tic tac toe passing they got on that power play goal from Strome. The three guys that are key players to their future too, if they keep Patrick Kane, which I think they probably are going to do with how good they're doing this year. You got DeBrinket, you got Kane, and you got Strome teaming up for that great tic tac toe that they got it across to him right in front of the net, and DeBrinket slammed it home. So that was a very nice play there. Where then later in the game you had DeBrinket score the second goal too. So DeBrinket came up clutch in different factors in this game, and that was great to be able to see. I think he's honestly, when healthy, probably one of my favorite players to watch in the entire league too. Just because he's another little bulldog that just tries to plays above his size. He'll go to the net. He's not going to just stand there and say, "I'm too short to do this." Like he's going to go crash in the net, which is
Yeah,
how he scored both of his goals.
yeah. And there's that Caulfield in Montreal that's compared to him. And I'll tell you this, that Caulfield kid's going to have to be able to go to the net a lot better yet before he gets to DeBrincat status. DeBrincat goes to the net with the puck better than players way bigger than him.
That are 6'4", let
He's
alone like
fearless.
5'8".
That guy
Yeah.
is fearless. He's freaking awesome. I like Caulfield, but as of right now, Caulfield reminds me of like a Tyler Ennis type thing, which isn't bad. Don't get me wrong, but Caulfield is with that shot and his fearlessness. I don't think there's too many in the league you can compare him to. JVR's playing like
Yeah,
him now,
like
though.
yeah.
We didn't even. JVR's playing like him now, but he's a lot high, he's a lot bigger. He's playing the way he needs to be for his size, and I still think that was an injury thing. Now that I'm looking at it now,
Seems so. It seems the same as Ghost now that you see Ghost, which we know was an injury thing, able to get back, challenge the guy at the blue line more, which you haven't really seen him do since 2017.
yeah,
So, like, it seems like it was, excuse me, for Ghost, a long extended injury bug where for JVR, it was that 1 year his legs went under him. Now they got back under him. He had a solid first year here. Didn't do too good in the seconds, doing amazing in the third. So he
yeah.
just had a returning sophomore slump. I guess sophomore slumps also work for when you come back with the team too. That's the year that you're most likely to struggle. They always say the sophomore slump. So
It's JVR coming back for Philadelphia is like you can't even put. It's insane. It's what it does for this team. It turns them into a cup contender. They get some more defense
probably
there,
with
and
one other defender. Yeah, with
for
one other defender.
like it puts them in elite status in the league to have JVR playing like that. So huge, huge. But this Chicago team is scrappy. It's obviously these players have fed off of a guy that's not playing with them right now with Tays, but um, they fed off the leadership of Seabrook, Keith, Taves, Kane, Shaw, and they're growing as players to have that kind of heart. And it's proving people wrong is what they do. They're proving me wrong, and that's what teams like that do. Like the Boston Bruins are doing that. Great teams will do that, and I think our Philadelphia Flyers are going to turn into that team as well as they go along here. For Dallas, okay, this has been so far this year. Now they haven't. A lot of it has to do with, I suppose, the fact that they got started late. They're kind of off kilter. But this team either is like rolling people over or struggling mightily against teams. Do you find that? It's like there's no in between with this team.
Yeah, I think it's probably what you just said. They got to find the middle ground game, which they haven't found yet. And Florida has, though, which is who also got rolling lately. They've actually had a couple middle ground games where the Stars have not. But I would just have to say it's simple as that. It's literally that's just a keep it simple answer. Pretty much, it's just you got to find that middle ground game. It's typical to not have it because you came back late. It's just Florida for some reason does have it and has shown middle ground games for whatever reason, um, as Dallas is not. So who knows why, but that's just been the way it was.
Yeah, and I mean, lastly, we'll shout out Ottinger, who had a fantastic game. He's looking like,
Correct.
I think if Bishop might be getting a little getting a little hot in the seat there watching this kid because he looks like he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, and I was high on him as soon as he came up. I talked about him last year once he came up, on your show and different things. He seems definitely like he's going to be a good goaltender. He's a very fun guy to watch. That game was fun to watch. Two guys now. It looks like Subban might be finally emerging. And then you had Ottinger show his thing, and everybody's confident in him. He can also play the puck, like I said before, similar to more of a Bishop style than a Hudobin. Who you probably the one thing you don't want him doing is going anywhere damn near close to the puck. Other than that, he's good. So I would say Ottinger is a guy that you're definitely going to see have success in this league for years to come, and it's very fun that he's already been able to have some.
We mentioned somebody that he kind of reminds me of today, actually, and that
Dominic,
no Belfour.
uh, Belfour,
He kind of
and
reminds
Belfour.
me of Belfour
Yeah, I was
in his style a little bit. Um, okay, somebody who has CL mentioned this game here, so we'll bring it up. Um, Red Wings versus the Panthers, a surprise to say the least. I had a Panthers in reg, and I had the under though, so it was a bit of a wash. Did watch the game. The first regulation loss for the Panthers comes against a Detroit Red Wings team that, to me, in this game looked like they were finally starting to have a system and getting identity for their team.
Yeah, I mean, of all guys, you had Mark Stahl crash the net to
Yeah,
score the first
yeah,
goal of the game. Then you had Giovanni Smith, who's looking really good of late.
yeah.
Uh, has 4 points in his 6 games, taking off as their former second round pick a couple years back. So I believe he got picked by Detroit, not traded to Detroit. But either way, he's doing really good. And then Wenberg is the only guy that really showed anything with the goal he was able to pot for Florida. Other than that, they played really flat.
Mm-hmm.
Nemesnikov continues to look good in Detroit as well in terms of the last couple games. So if he can look as he has the last 2 games rather than the first about 11, then he would kind of get going a little bit more consistent there. So uh, that's it looks like they're definitely forming into the system. Everybody played better. He's playing better the last couple games. Seems like he's learning the system. So if that keeps going for guys like Nemesnikov, while Fabry seemed to step in and learn the system a bit in this game, pot in his goal. If everybody starts to learn it and get going, even if they were inconsistent in the first 11, it just matters what you're doing now. So we have to see, but it definitely looks like they got the system going. They got 2 good goals crashing the net and a couple others in other ways. So they
Yeah,
did it right. They
Giovanni
won.
Giovanni was getting Blasio was giving him uh, some props, I suppose. He was playing him up on the top line for playing with courage, I think. Giovanni has been from what I've been watching, he's probably going to be a fourth liner. He may work himself up to the third line, but he's playing with a lot of heart, and this team needs it. This team needs heart right now, as they grow into what their team, and they look like they were they look like they felt they could win that game right from the beginning, and that's something you haven't seen in Detroit in a while. So we kind
Yeah,
of we when
I feel like the only thing that I don't fully agree with, I feel like Giovanni, other than being a Reeves, which would make him more of like the career great fourth liner, might be kind of in the middle of a Ryan Reeves to a poor man's Wayne. I don't know if he's as on like I feel like he could be more of a third liner because I think he has more skill than Reeves, but not obviously nearly as much skill as Wayne Simmons. So it's kind of like I feel like he could pounce on the points chart a little bit more than a Ryan Reeves, who was a career one of the best fourth liners, if not the best of all
I
time
always
when it
thought
comes.
Ryan Reeves did pretty well with offensively considering. I don't know. We'll see what he turns into. I don't want to say because I mean he only put up like what 19 points in 37 games in the AHL the last year. What would Reeves put up if you put him in the AHL now? I think it would be somewhere similar to that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, something like that. So, but he may have more upside. Like that might. You're right. Giovanni Smith could have more upside, but he's playing with a crap load of heart, and
Hmm.
they're putting him up on the top line to be that guy that makes some room for Zadina and Larkin. And the Zadinas look good. It's just I think that's part of the reason why he's doing it too. Is Zadina needs to stop being a perimeter player so much. He's got to do what we've been saying with the Brinkat. Now he's never going to be a Brinkat, right? But he's got to get
No,
to
I don't think so.
he's been playing two perimeter up to this point in his career, and it's the difference between whether Zadina is going to be a great player or your average player that goes around the league and is out in 7 or 8 years, gets 40 points a year. That's going to be the difference. So putting Giovanni
Yeah,
Smith up there is like say is maybe gives him also a little more courage to do those sort of things. That there's going to be a guy there that if he gets manhandled, that Giovanni Smith can say, "Yeah, try that again." You know, I got your number because Giovanni Smith can hit you, man.
yeah. Oh yeah, he's gonna send you through the boards if he gets really pissed at you. Yeah, you don't want to mess with him.
He
That's
knows.
why I said I feel like he's like that's how Reeves is, that's how Simmons is. I just feel Smith's skill set is more in the middle, where Reeves is more of that great playoff performer that brings out his offense more in the playoffs. But I feel like in the regular season, you would have a little bit more brought out of Giovanni, and then also do the playoff side of it. So it'll kind of be a double positive where Reeves is great to have on your fourth line for being physical, defense, and all that extra small stuff, but isn't as offensively involved in the regular season. Where I feel like Smith could actually add maybe have a season he has 10 or 12 goals, like does pretty well on that sheet, and then contribute the same in the regular or in the postseason.
Yeah. Um, to me, Florida looked tired. They looked tired, and I don't know why they were tired, but they looked tired when I watched that game. Maybe just that energy of winning so many in a row and stuff like that. Sometimes that high can take the energy out of a team
True.
for a little bit, and I think maybe that's might have happened there. Um, Drigger looked great. It has nothing to do with Drigger. I'm really loving this guy, and
Yeah, he
Bobrovsky's
looked.
better be shaking in his boots because this guy's just getting better and better. Sort of looks like maybe possibly the new Binnington.
Yeah, that's why I said it's hard to judge goaltenders because Bennington was a late bloomer, and if on the way out, like we said earlier in the video, Allen actually shook him up a bit by what he said about him. He looks to be in the best headspace this year too. Drager doesn't have that headspace concern. Already looks good as a late bloomer, taking out the extra side of it. So it seems like he might even hit the stride a little bit quicker than Jordan, which is tough to say because he won the cup, but that was also because of his team. Because he doesn't have that I'm a top shot issue and then wins the cup on top of it in his first season, which even plays to that personality more. So that's why I feel like he might even be there quicker if they give him that, just because he doesn't have that extra side of it.
Yeah. E asks which sport has the worst refs. I'm not probably not the one to answer that question. Uh, I have no idea which sport has the worst refs. What would you say? You're
I
more of an all
I
sports guy than I am.
uh, I wouldn't say it's hockey. Let me put it
No,
that way.
I no way.
Uh,
Hockey's refs are incredible. What they do.
um, Probably football.
Yeah.
I would say probably football. Granted, I've basketball is my fourth sport, so if anyone thinks it's basketball, I probably won't argue with them. But I would have to say personally football. Baseball has some umps that just stick out like a sore thumb, but I would say it's football because there's more guys that every game you watch there seems to be a call that you question. With baseball, it's not every game you watch.
Evan just did a pod. Oh, by the way, E Money, got to check out on the money. E Money, he just did a podcast that I haven't been able to watch yet, but I will watch because it sounds very rant worthy. And when E Money does a rant, it is epic. Uh, yeah, he's talking. He called it was basically it was called the worst Super Bowl ever, or something like that. So it was horrible. So it's probably why he's asking this question because to tell you the honest truth, I didn't watch the Super Bowl back to back. There wasn't much hockey. There was no hockey on, and I don't get a time to really hang out with the wife much. So, yeah, during hockey season, so I took the time to hang out with her. It's a rant, yeah. Uh, so I took the time to hang out with her, but um, I'll have to check it out. That's probably why he's asking that question.
Yeah, I would say so, most likely. I mean, I would say it's definitely football though. That's just who I think. I think football definitely has the worst announcers or not announcers, worst refs when it comes to that. They might also have a couple announcers that aren't the best, but that's not what I meant to say. They have the worst refs and more inconsistent refs. I definitely agree with that.
Okay, we'll do to the last game on Sunday, and then we'll probably got to head out here. What's your time like?
It's 5-11.
No, what's your time like?
Oh, the next thing I'm doing is with John at 7.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
Carolina Columbus was a crazy game. I don't know what this Columbus team is right now. They just have so many different pieces right now, and with Wierenski out, uh, they they're just weird. It's just weird. It's very weird.
Carolina is by far the better team, I think, this year. It seems like Columbus is at a feeling out where Carolina, if Mrazek didn't get injured, honestly, would probably potentially be in first place over Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Reimer has not been the answer.
Yeah, he's been all right, but you don't want him over starting. He's never been that goaltender. He's your 1B. Mrazek coming in looks great. Nedeljkovic is not fully ready to play. And I mean, now you have that little hole where you wouldn't have had a hole. You probably should have got a third veteran. They should have been a team that thought of a Craig Anderson type just because you would have had more of a security blanket if somebody got injured. But since they don't have it now, they just got to work with what they have and hope it all works out.
Yeah, Nedeljkovic is in tonight.
Okay.
But this game was back and forth, and it's just so weird to watch Columbus not shut down a team. It's very odd. Not to mention, we've mentioned it before. Neither one of us are too high on Corpusalo as an NHL goaltender, yes, but the same as sort of,
As a full blown
yeah,
starter.
same as sort of Reimer. They're both sort of in the same boat there. Like you overplay them, and you're going to be in trouble. And
Yeah,
especially if a team is
that's a good way to put it.
if a team is playing them over and over again, they can figure out their weaknesses, right? And this is what happens. You have scores like this. But now we'll quickly go to tomorrow's games, and we're just going to quickly go over who you think's going to win, or tonight's games, I should
It's a
say,
nice game.
tonight's games, and we'll just quickly
Yeah.
pick who's you're going to win and who's going to not, and then if you're in the comments section there, tell us who you think's going to win and who's not going to win. Uh, where was it? Where the heck did I put that?
The first one is the Battle of New
Yeah,
York.
Islanders versus Rangers. Who do you got?
Well, first of all, John's streaming that game for people that know at Off the Wall. I'm supposed to be joining him for that game. So if you want to
Yeah,
join us for the
right.
Battle of New York, that's at 7 o'clock tonight. Another reason I figured we would start with that so we could let people know that. Um, your guess is as good as mine. We're having two 4-4-2 teams that are trying to figure themselves out, play each other. This might be one that I very rarely do, but plead the fifth to this one.
I almost have to too. The Rangers started looking better in their last. Both teams against Pittsburgh started looking better. Uh, yeah, this is gonna be tough, man. I'm gonna. Jeez, you're right. It's so even here. I don't know what to take. As soon as I say one team, then the other team. I think the Rangers' defense is too weak. I'm going to take the Islanders. I'm going to take the Islanders.
Yeah, I,
Uh,
I,
sorry, go.
I'm just going to say 50-50.
We just talked about the Hurricanes and the Jackets. Now we said Hurricanes probably have the better team right now, but
Much
what about
range.
Nedeljkovic in net? And I believe Corpusalo is going to be back in it again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It depends how well Columbus's full team plays and not just their offense with Rowinski out. Um, Even with the Delkovich in, just from what I saw of Carolina, I'm still picking them by a 5% margin. So not by much, but by a 5% margin at least.
Well, for fantasy sake, CL hopes that the Islanders win and E. Sullivan's taking the Rangers.
Yeah. I would say like that's a 5% margin at most for me, but I would still say Carolina, they play better as a whole. I don't know if with that system, with how good Rod has them going, you might be able to throw one of us in there and we could actually look half decent. I mean, they are the team that had David Ayers look good. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's I this there's been a thing about back to backs this year that the other team always wins the second. So for that reason, I'll probably lean the Jackets. By the way, Lion scored 2 goals at that game, and it was the Lion that everybody knows. You don't notice him until he scores, and
yeah.
he's gonna do it a lot, and you won't notice him until he does. And that's exactly what he was doing in Columbus. So um, I'm going to lean Columbus more or less just because. Also, Nietzsche is hurt for Carolina, which sucks because I really wanted Nietzsche to have a really great year this year because I love the kid. But yeah, really not good there. But I'm going to say Columbus just because of that. There's been a major trend on back to backs that the other whoever wins the first one loses the second.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, Oilers versus Senators. Oilers, as we know, has Smith in net. Senators rolling out Murray.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously I'll lean Edmonton. Mike Smith is in net in his first. This will be his first game back since injury, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he'll be playing in his first game back since injury. You have to see maybe that'll get the troops going a little bit more because Edmonton has been another disappointing team this far that hasn't been as good as I nearly thought they could be. I mean, I'm probably a little. You're a fan of Edmonton, and I'm biased because of how much I'm obsessed with Draisaitl, and then they also have Connor McDavid. Like Draisaitl's actually my favorite non-flyer, and then McDavid, everybody just loves McDavid. You can't dislike Connor McDavid, but the it's a lean, but it's not. I wouldn't be surprised if Ottawa upsets Edmonton because they've been a disappointing team. So it's a lean to Edmonton. It might be a 10% lean. I'll give to Edmonton.
Oh, really? I'm taking Edmonton straight up. I think Edmonton's just their game just works too well against them. Uh, need a four picker. Okay, since you came in, Ty, I'll give you a quick pick. Uh, Tampa, Nashville over. Okay, we'll go to the next game. What do we got? Canucks, Leafs, Canucks all day, right? Or Leafs all day, I should say, right?
Leafs, yeah,
Yeah,
Leafs, yeah. I would say Leafs all
Canucks
day.
until
Yeah.
they get rest and especially since they're trying to roll Holtby again, that'll be something. Predators versus Lightning. Lightning rolling out McElhaney though, but I still got to go Lightning.
Still Lightning. They're one of the best teams to start this year themselves, just like Toronto. I think they'll keep on rolling.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, Coyotes versus the Blues. Can the Blues lose three in a row to the Coyotes?
Would say. I don't want to pick them, that's for sure. So I'll keep this one at a 50-50 too, because I'm not being the guy that keeps saying the Blues are going to pull it out and then they suck. So,
There,
yeah. I'll just say, we'll see what happens.
well, one thing we can talk about on our way out here a little bit is, there was a lot of talk when they didn't sign Peter Angelo that I didn't hear when they didn't sign Stepniak or some other guys that they didn't sign. But there was a lot of talk there within the insiders of the Blues that said they're not going to be able to do it. That Peter Angelo is the final straw. That this team's never going to be the same.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, it's not going to take Torrey Krug 2 weeks to step into an entire new system either. So you got to wait for it to develop over time, but we'll have to see over time. I think I'm still in the let me give it more time phase.
Yeah, I mean Krug is won cups. I mean he's pretty solid.
Yeah,
That team's just got a gel. They got a lot of different pieces. They got a lot of people also that are kind of possibly on the way out. It's a transition time in St. Louis that never seems to end, and that might be the issue. But I understand why they do it because they want to be the St. Louis Blues want to be relevant all the time. They don't want to go through that big rebuild. So they're not going to be giving guys these long-term contracts. They're going to trade them off, get picks, build it again real quick, and that's the thing that's what they've been going with
yep.
for a long time, and they're sticking to it. So you got to respect that part of it, anyways.
Yeah, well, once you have your goalie, I mean, if Bennington, like, it seems like he has his head on the best this year too, becomes it's all about having that goaltender and having the defenders that fit into plays. And over time, they seem like they'll be fine. It's just you have to have Krug, like I said, it doesn't take 2 weeks to fully flourish like he did in Boston in a new system. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to get to that level, but he likely will. He's Torrey Krug. He's one of the most talented guys back there. Give him a little bit of time, will probably show exactly what he fully is.
Probably. Well, boys and girls, that's our full 42%. I got to go pick up my lovely wife, Caroline, and you got to go off and do what you do. Also, you'll be on again. We'll mention you're going to be on live tonight for the New York Rangers, New
Round
York
seven,
Islanders
yeah.
game with the GOAT, John from Off the Wall Hockey. If you haven't subscribed to that yet, I would highly recommend you do. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Sports Fanatic News with PH, you'll find Joe's work there. He does a lot of fine work over there. And of course, as you can see by our background, Steel Flyers All Sports Network. It's not a Steelers network. It's not a Flyers network. It's an all sports network. But Steel Flyers is the man, the Don, the big guy, the great guy. And you can go to Steel Flyers. You can go to you can go to Steel Flyers as well on YouTube and subscribe to his channel. And I would subscribe to Peyton on the radio as well because we're going to be doing lives almost all the time, and you can be part of that frolic. You don't want to miss out. I don't want you. I wouldn't want you to miss out. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being here. We'll be here tomorrow. I will be, anyways. Probably Joe. Probably maybe even other people as well. On at 1 to 3 Eastern weekdays here
No, no,
at
no, no, no. 1 to 3 would
three
be
to five
your time.
Eastern. How many
Yeah, there
times
we
are
go.
going to make that mistake?
Yeah,
And they're asking me, where if I see John doing these awesome. He does Friday night things like this.
yeah.
John from Off the Wall, and it's like so structured. I did it with them last Friday. I can't even get the time right for my own channel ever, let alone structure it.